Grandfather, you are right. Emo Xiaoan must have been disappointed because the first elder's health is fine. The only reason he accompanied us to the main room was to find out about the first elder's health. The reason why Yun Chujio did not say it out loud and let Emo Shouting make his own guess was to make him more convinced. Emo Shouting sighed. I didn't expect my family to be involved in this mess. But what does this have to do with us returning to the East Continent? Grandfather, it's because of this mess that we have the chance to fish in troubled waters. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The reason she had made this guess was because she had noticed the change in Emo Zioan's expression. But more importantly, when she saw the great elder, Guai Chao was restless and expressed that he wanted to eat something good. After Yun Chujio suppressed the Guai Chao, she came back and asked what the Guai Chao smelled. After a few guesses, she finally confirmed that the great elder had taken a pill that could stimulate the Bodhi's potential in a short period of time. This kind of pill could be said to do more harm than good. For example, if one could originally live for 10 years after taking this pill, they would probably have 7 to 8 years to live. Since the great elder had put in so much effort, it meant that he was extremely wary of Emo Xiaoan. It also indirectly meant that the conflict between the two families had worsened for nothing. Taking advantage of the situation? What do you want to do? Emo Shouting was a little uneasy and excited. In short, his emotions were complicated. Grandfather, we can forget about the fifth branch. We have fed them so much, yet they still treat us so slowly. Even if the second branch isn't good on the surface, it's not a big deal. Although the third and fourth branches haven't gone yet, they're probably the same as the second branch. They're not of much use. Our best choice is to hook up with the big branch. We have money, they have power. It's a great combination. Hook up. Emo Shouting was no longer in the mood to argue about Yun Chujio's choice of words. He said disapprovingly, that's easy for you to say. The big house is a legitimate branch of the family. Why would they take a fancy to us? Emo Xiaoquan may be nice to us on the surface, but that's only on the surface. Emo Xiaoquan is obviously not a good candidate. That person is too conservative and doesn't have the ability to do great things. The person we want to hook up with is the first elder, the actual person in charge of the family. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed with cunningness. First elder? Feng Chao, you don't think that because you have obtained a pill furnace today, you think that the first elder will look at you differently, do you? You are too naive. Emo Shouting shook his head. Feng Chao was still too young and naive. Yun Chujio giggled. Grandfather, I am not that stupid. We need to take things slowly. If we can't meet once, then we will meet twice. If we can't meet twice, then we will meet 3 times. If we can't meet 3 times, then we will meet every day. Indianovial, you just need to do as I say. Don't worry. Even if I can't hook up with the first elder, nothing will happen. The people in the fifth house simply think that I want to turn from a sparrow into a phoenix. Emo Shouting still felt that this matter was too mysterious. He sighed. Feng Chao, even if what you say is true, will the first elder see you? Yun Chujio curled her lips. Grandfather, trust me. Others may not be able to see the first elder, but I will. Every time I go, he will see me. Emo Shouting felt that Yun Chujio had a fever. Not to mention her, even the fifth elder did not dare to say such words. How could he meet the first elder at will? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Emo Shouting glared at Yun Chujio. Feng Chao, how can you meet the great elder just because you want to? Although everything you've said is correct, this path is not feasible. Grandfather, why don't we make a bet? After breakfast the day after tomorrow, you can bring me to the main room. I promise that the great elder will meet me, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Emo Shouting noticed that Yun Chujio sounded very confident. In addition, the temptation of returning to the East Continent was too great, so he gritted his teeth. All right, if you can't see the first elder the day after tomorrow, then you should behave yourself from now on. Don't cause any more trouble. After Yun Chujio nodded in agreement, the grandfather and grandson chatted as they ate. In the afternoon, Mo Yongfei accompanied them to the third branch of the Mo family. Just as Yun Chujio expected, the third branch treated Mo Shouting and Yun Chujio in the same way as the second branch. The two of them did not see the third elder either. As Mo Shouting and Yun Chujio bade farewell, Mo Xiaogai only asked them to stay for a short while. His attitude was very perfunctory. The next morning, the grandfather and grandson were treated the same way in the fourth branch of the Mo family. They did not see the fourth elder either. After chatting for a while, they left and returned to the fifth branch of the Mo family. Pandan 0 Val. C0M. When no one was around, Yun Chujio whispered, "Grandfather, I'm a smart girl. Otherwise, these stingy people would not give us a single cent. We've suffered a huge loss." Mo shouting was naturally uncomfortable being treated so slowly. He was even more concerned about Yun Chujio's plan. "Fangzao, will you really see the first elder tomorrow?" "Grandfather, don't worry. Which of the things I promised you haven't been fulfilled? However, when we arrive at the main room tomorrow, you will have to listen to some sarcasm and receive a few looks of disdain. You have to bear with it." Yun Chujio blinked. Although Mo shouting was a sly old fox, they had common interests and they needed to maintain a good relationship. "That's not a big deal. But grandfather still feels that the first elder might not be willing to see you. If the first elder doesn't see you, don't mess around. Do you hear me?" Mo shouting warned worriedly. This Feng Chao was fearless. There was no way to predict what she would do in the next moment. After Yun Chujio made her promise, she left Mo Xiating's courtyard and returned to her new moon pavilion. As soon as she entered the courtyard, she heard Mo Fengjiao say impatiently, "Mo Fengjiao, where have you been? Why have you only just returned?" Yun Chujio was dumbfounded. Was Mo Fengjiao crazy? What the hell did she have to do with where I went? Was she addicted to my insults? Although she was complaining in her heart, her face was full of smiles as she said, "Sister Fengjiao, why are you so free today? Why are you looking for me?" Mo Fengjiao glared at her and asked, "I heard that you fooled Mo Fengju yesterday?" Yun Chujio shook her head. "Sister Fengjiao, how would I have the guts to fool Sister Fengju? I was just joking with her, but she got angry." Mo Fengjiao showed a gloating look on her face. Others have praised her for her good looks, wisdom, demure, but she was only SSO. She was actually fooled by you. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and did not say anything. It seemed that not only did the older generation of this family fight fiercely, even Mo Fengjiao and the others did not get along with each other on the surface. The corners of this fellow's mouth curled up. "Good, very good. This baby loves such chaotic situations the most. It's really fun." This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Fengjiao asked Yun Chujio some more details, and Yun Chujio told her everything she knew. She imitated Mo Fengjiao's expression and language perfectly. Mo Fengjiao laughed until her flowers trembled, feeling very relieved. "Mo Fengjiao, I didn't expect you to be so capable. Seeing that you made me so happy today, I'll give you a favor. Let me tell you, among the girls in the Mo family, you shouldn't provoke Sister Fengbing. Otherwise you'll die a horrible death." Mo Fengjiao pouted. "Sister Fengjiao, why don't I understand? I met Sister Fengbing when I went to visit her in the big room. Although she looked a little cold, she looked okay. Why did you say that she's hard to provoke?" Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. She did not think that Mo Fengjiao would be so kind. "Humph. You are indeed ignorant. Not only does Sister Fengbing have a high spiritual power, but her maternal family is a second-class family. Although her mother is the daughter of a concubine, she is also much taller than others. Therefore Sister Fengbing looks like a fairy who does not live in the mortal world. In fact, she has never put us cousins in her eyes." Sister Fengbing heard Feng Qiao, who used to be in the fourth room, say a few nasty words to her. Sister Fengbing directly slapped her twice, and even threatened that if she heard it again she would make Feng Qiao unable to speak. "Mo Fengjiao, I heard that the great elder gave you an alchemy furnace. Sister Fengbing must be very uncomfortable and might find trouble with you. So you'd better not go to the great room in the future. If you go, Sister Fengbing might break your leg." Mo Fengjiao said in disdain. Her words were full of provocation. Yun Chujio secretly curled her lips. She felt that Mo Fengjiao was exaggerating. Mo Fengbing's mother was only a concubine daughter of a second-class family. What kind of extraordinary means could she have? If she was really so favored, the great elder would not choose to use the medicine of tigers and wolves to intimidate the other four chambers. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and understood Mo Fengjiao's intentions. Mo Fengjiao probably thought that she was a fool. Since she dared to tease Mo Fengju of the second branch, she might be persuaded by her and cause trouble for Mo Fengbing. She wondered if Mo Fengjiao was crazy? Did she think that everyone else was a fool? Of course, there was another possibility. Mo Xiaoan had instructed Mo Fengjiao to say this. The purpose was obvious. It was to make Guangshunzi stay away from the main branch and firmly control Guangshunzi in the hands of the fifth branch. Sister Fangjiao, thank you for your reminder. However, I feel that Sister Fangbing should be reasonable and won't target me for no reason. If she is really that unreasonable, Grandfather Shaoquan won't let her off. It just so happens that I have nothing to do tomorrow, so I'll let Grandfather bring me to the big house to visit again. I'd like to see if Sister Fangbing will target me. Yun Chujio said somewhat unwillingly. Since you don't listen to my advice, don't blame me if something happens in the future. Mo Fangjiu's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. This country bumpkin was indeed fooled. It would be better if she fought with Mo Fangbing. No matter who was the one who suffered the loss, it would be a relief. Yun Chujio caught a glimpse of Mo Fangjiu's expression and knew that it was the first possibility that she guessed. It was not Mo Zioan's instructions. This was also good. If this was the case, she would have an excuse to go to the main room tomorrow to avoid Mo Zioan's suspicion. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. He suppressed the impatience in his heart and allowed his son Mo Yongji to invite the grandfather and grandson to the living room. Big brother, I have a presumptuous request for you this time. Fang Chao has been stuck with a difficult alchemy problem for the past few days and she had to beg me to bring her here to meet uncle. What do you think? Mo Shouting braced himself and said the lines that Yun Chujio had prepared for him. Mo Shaoquan couldn't help but frown. This Mo Shouting was really arrogant. Did he think that anyone could meet his father just because they wanted to? Did he think that just because his father gave the little girl a pill furnace he would treat her differently? He really didn't know his own limits. As Mo Shaoquan thought of this, his expression darkened as he said, Brother Shouting, it's not that I'm unreasonable. It's just that father is very busy and old. If Fang Chao has any questions regarding alchemy, I can help her find an alchemist to answer them. Don't worry, our house will take care of the binding. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Ziyading's face turned red. He could naturally tell that Mo Shaoquan was taunting him. If Yun Chujio had not warned him beforehand, he would have left with a flick of his sleeve. Big brother, you've misunderstood me. Our Guangshunzi can still take the responsibility. It's mainly because this Fang Chao girl has already set her eyes on uncle. I have no choice, Mo Shouting said with a sigh. Yun Chujio knew it was time for her to go on stage, so she smiled and said, Grandfather Shaoquan, you may not know this, but after I return home, my mind is filled with the teachings of the Great Elder. I just want to see the Great Elder one more time. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep or eat in peace. It's like I've lost my soul. The corners of Mo Shaoquan and Mo Yongji's eyes twitched. This Mo Fang Chao was really thick-skinned. But it was understandable. She must have wanted the Great Elder to have a favorable impression of her. She might even be able to stay in the Eastern continent. Her ambition was quite high. Mo Zioquan's expression turned even colder. Fang Chao, I will pass on your filial piety. As for the pill, forget it. Pan Din Zero Mo Shouting wished he could find a hole and hide in it. He had said that it wouldn't work, yet this Fang Chao had said that it would work. But now that she had been rebuked, what was she going to do? Yun Chujio sighed. Alright, since Grandfather Shaoquan has said so as a junior, I can't force it. However, I have refined some pills for great-grandfather to strengthen his body and bones. I hope Grandfather Shaoquan can help me pass them on to him as a show of filial piety. Mo Shaoquan felt disdain in his heart, but he forced a smile on his face. Fang Chao's filial piety is commendable. Don't worry, I will definitely pass them on to father. Mo Shouting received Yun Chujio's glance. Although he was a little confused, he still said, Big brother, Fang Chao and I still have some other matters to attend to. I won't disturb you any longer. We will take our leave now. Mo Shaoquan did not try to convince him to stay for a while, then he let the two of them leave. After leaving the house, they arrived at a relatively remote corner. Mo Ziyading's face was dark as he said unhappily, Fang Chao, didn't you say that the first elder would definitely meet you? Why did you change your mind midway? Grandfather, of course we have to put bait first when fishing. We are here to put bait. Don't worry, the big fish will bite sooner or later. Don't worry. Let's go and have a good stroll. You can't stay in the mansion all the time. Yun Chujio did not care about Mo Ziyading's dark expression. He was very confident. She was now a cash cow, so the most Shouting could do was give her some face. He wouldn't do anything to her. As expected, Shouting glared at her and did not say anything else. The grandfather and grandson arrived at West City. As soon as the merchants in West City saw Yun Chujio, they all smiled and said obsequiously, "Miss Fong Chao, you're here? Miss Fong Chao, come visit our silk shop. Miss Fong Chao, our snack shop has a new batch of delicious food. Come in and have a look. I'll give you a 10% discount." Shouting was dumbfounded. But he quickly thought of the gift and understood. These people must have thought that Fong Chao was here to purchase more food, that's why they were so enthusiastic. Yun Chujio had always been good at acting. She smiled as she chatted with everyone. Not long after, she became friends with the shopkeepers. It was as if she was one of the shopkeepers on the street. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The corners of Xiaoting's eyes twitched. If he wasn't aware of this, he would have thought that Fong Chao was also the owner of a shop. This little girl was simply too sociable. A moment later, Yun Chujio returned with a bunch of gifts from various shops, such as candied fruits and handkerchiefs. "Grandfather, let's go to a restaurant for a meal." Shouting felt that even if this little girl didn't do anything, she could still make a fortune with just her mouth. She was too good at lying. A few words of flattery were enough to make the shopkeepers lose their minds. After the grandfather and grandson arrived at the restaurant, they asked for a private room and ordered a large table of food to eat. Xiaoting's mind was preoccupied as he ate, while Yun Chujio's mouth was filled with oil. She couldn't help but praise, "The food on the Eastern continent is much better than the food on the Western continent. I bet the ingredients are filled with spiritual energy. Just for this delicious food, I'm going to stay on the Eastern continent." Xiaoting's mouth twitched. There was no other good-for-nothing reason. "But you're dreaming." The first elder did not even see him. It seemed his return to the Eastern continent was going to be ruined. While the grandfather and grandson were eating, Xiaoquan did not give the pills Yun Chujio gave him to the first elder. After Shouting and Yun Chujio left, he opened the bottle and looked inside. Inside was a level 8 bone tempering pill. He could not help but curl his lips. It's only a level 8 bone tempering pill. Although it's high grade, it's not a high grade pill. There's no need to distract father. At this moment, the great elder sent for Xiaoquan. Xiaoquan couldn't help but feel a little confused. He quickly rushed to the great elder's study room. "Father, are you looking for me?" Although the great elder was in better spirits than the day before, he still looked weak. He nodded his head and asked, "I heard that Xiao Ting and the little girl are here?" Xiaoquan was a little unhappy. He knew that the great elder had always been worried about him. Many servants only listened to the great elder's arrangements. As a result, the things that happened in the main residence couldn't be hidden from the great elder. Xiaoquan was unhappy, so he blamed his anger on Xiaoting's grandfather and grandson. Yes, Xiao Ting brought Fong Chao with him. He said that Fong Chao wanted to ask you about alchemy, but I sent him away. At first I thought that Xiao Ting wasn't bad. I didn't expect him to be so ignorant. Who does he think he is? He's overestimating himself to want to meet you. The first elder furrowed his brows. He also felt that Shouting and Yun Chujio were too rash. Even if they wanted to get close to him, they should have waited a while before coming back. But they actually came today. It seemed that they had overestimated the little girl. Xiaoquan saw the first elder's frown. He then continued, "Father, the people from Guangshunzi have been in the Western continent for a long time, so their horizons are naturally limited. When they suddenly see the prosperity of the Eastern continent, they are mesmerized. If there's a chance, I'll just give them a few words. You should stop worrying about these things and rest in peace." The first elder nodded. "Since that's the case, you can go back." PND and Xiaoquan took a few steps forward and thought of Yun Chujio's bottle of grade 8 bone tempering pills. He could not help but mock. "Father, oh right, that little girl gave me a bottle of pills before she left and asked me to give it to you. I thought it was some incredible medicinal pill, but in the end it turned out to be a grade 8 bone tempering pill. Even though it's a high-grade one, it can't be considered good. What did you say?" The first elder abruptly interrupted Xiaoquan's words and asked loudly. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Xiaoquan was shocked and his face was at a loss. Father, what happened to you? The first elder calmed himself down and asked, "Give me the medicinal pill that the fragrant grass gave you." Mo Xiaoquan handed the medicinal pill to the first elder and his face was filled with bafflement. It was only a grade 8 bone-tempering pill. Why did father have such a big reaction? The first elder took the porcelain bottle and opened the lid to take a look. There were indeed 10 high-grade bone-tempering pills inside. He could not help but frown. Was this little girl intentional or unintentional? PNDNOVL. If it was unintentional, then it was too much of a coincidence. After all, she was already able to refine grade 10 pills. Wouldn't it be more sincere if she directly gifted grade 10 pills? Why would she gift grade 8 bone-tempering pills? If it was intentional, how much would she know? Could it be that she was gifting this bottle of medicinal pills to attract his attention? Mo Xiaoquan saw the change in the first elder's expression and asked in puzzlement, "Father, isn't this a level 8 bone-tempering pill? Is there anything special about it?" The first elder sighed. "You also know that previously, in order to intimidate Shaoan, I consumed the hidden dragon pill. That medicinal pill is extremely harmful to the body. Only a level 20 rank 7 creation pill can completely remove the poison in the body. However, a level 27 transformation life creation pill is simply not available on the market. I can only use the bone-quenching pill instead. Although the effect cannot be compared to the 7 transformation life creation pill, it can still have some effect." Father, are you saying that Mo Fangchao knew that you took the hidden dragon pill, so she gave you the bone-quenching pill? This is impossible, right? Besides you and me, no one else knows about this matter. How did she find out? I reckon that she only has this bottle of bone-quenching pill on her, which is a grade 8 medicinal pill, so I gave it to you." Mo Xiaoquan did not quite believe that Yun Chujio had done it on purpose. If that was the case, this little girl was too strange, right? The great elder also did not quite believe it, but he had a suspicious nature. After pondering for a moment, he said, "No matter what, you find an excuse to call Fangchao over tomorrow. I'll test her." "Father, it's fine if she didn't mean it. But if she really finds out that you've taken the hidden dragon pill, what do you plan to do? Do you need me to think of a way to shut her up forever?" Mo Xiaoquan knew that the matter was of great importance. If the other 4 rooms heard about the hidden dragon pill, it would be bad. The great elder frowned. "Let's test her first. Guangshunzi's business is very important to us. If we can avoid falling out, let's not fall out." Although Xiao Ting was in charge of Guangshun's business, many of his ideas were made by Mo Fangchao. "If we kill her, the loss will be on us." "Then well, do as you say. Tomorrow I'll find a reason to call Mo Fangchao over." The next day, Yun Chujio had just eaten breakfast when steward Xia came over. "Miss Fangchao, Miss Fangbing of the main house has invited you and Miss Fangjiao over to the residence to admire the flowers." "Okay, I'll be there in a moment." Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. It looked like the fish had taken the bait. After returning to the house, Yun Chujio took out her voice transmission talisman and informed Mo Xiaoting. She then left the Broken Moon Pavilion and ran into Mo Fangjiao, who was looking for her. "Sister Fangchao, I advise you to pretend to be sick. Sister Fangbing must have taken the opportunity to teach you a lesson. Otherwise, why would she reward you with flowers?" Mo Fangjiao gloated. Yun Chujio pretended to be unconvinced. I'm not afraid of her. She wasn't there when I went yesterday. Otherwise, if she dares to provoke me, I'll teach her a lesson." Mo Fangjiao finally managed to hide the pride in her heart. "If that's the case, then let's go. I'm telling you, if you provoke Sister Fangbing, I won't help you." Yun Chujio gave a cold snort with a prideful look and didn't say anything. Although there were 2 other girls in the 5th room, they were both stepdaughters, so Mo Fangbing didn't invite them. Yun Chujio and Mo Fangjiao arrived at the door of the main room. Logically speaking, Mo Fangbing was the master, so she should come out to welcome them. However, Mo Fangbing did not come out. She only sent a maid to lead the way. Mo Fangjiao gave Yun Chujio a look. Did you see what she meant? This Mo Fangbing did not look up to them at all. Mo Fangjiao saw the anger on Yun Chujio's face and felt even more proud. What an overconfident country bumpkin. With your identity, you still want to compete with Mo Fangbing? Just wait to be tortured. The maid brought Mo Fangjiao and Yun Chujio around and arrived at a pavilion in the back garden of the house. In the pavilion there was only Mo Fangbing and a maid. On the stone table there were some pastries and spiritual fruits. When Mo Fongbing saw the two of them, she did not get up. She only nodded coldly. The two sisters are here? Come and sit. Mo Fengjiao pursed her lips. If she had not come to watch the show, she would not have bothered to look at Mo Fangbing's cold face. What was so great about it? Wasn't she just the daughter of a concubine? She was pretending to be noble. It was just the right time for the country bumpkin to remove her mask. Panda novel. Mo Fengjiao turned her head to look at Yun Chujie when she thought of this. When she saw Yun Chujie's expression, she almost fainted from anger. Yun Chujie's face was smiling like a flower. Sister Fongbing, if I didn't know that you were sitting here, I would have thought that a fairy had descended to the mortal world. Your aura is exactly the same as a fairy. I really admire you. A thought flashed through Mo Fengjiao's mind. Damn it, she was fooled by this Mo Fongbing again. She kept saying that she was not afraid of Mo Fongbing, but what happened? She was flattering her like a lackey. Why did she do this? Mo Fongbing heard Yun Chujie's flattering words. Although she knew that the Mo Fongbing in front of her was a scheming person, she still enjoyed it. She said indifferently, "Come and sit." Yun Chujie walked up the steps and entered the pavilion. Mo Fengjiao's mind could not process it for a moment, so she could only glare at Yun Chujie fiercely and also walked into the pavilion. After the two of them sat down, Mo Fongbing signaled the maid to pour 2 cups of tea for them and then stopped talking. The atmosphere in the pavilion was very awkward. If Mo Fengjiao hadn't figured out Yun Chujie's intention, she would have found an excuse to leave. This pretentious Mo Fongbing looked so high and mighty. It was really annoying. When Mo Fengjiao was feeling down, she heard a shameless voice say, Sister Fongbing, I'm a little hungry on the way here. Can I have some pastries and fruits? Mo Fengjiao couldn't hold it in anymore. Eat, eat, eat. You only know how to eat all day long. Are you a reincarnated hungry ghost? Sister Fengjiao, I really can't answer this question. After all, this person always drinks Meng Pa's soup in his reincarnation. Do you still remember whether you were a pig or a little bastard in your previous life? Yun Chujie asked seriously. Mo Fongbing, who was drinking tea, almost choked to death. This Mo Fongbing's words were really too sarcastic. I must tear your stinky mouth apart today. Mo Fengjiao was so angry that she was about to explode. Sister Fengjiao, why are you so anxious? I was just asking. You weren't a pig or a little bastard in your previous life. Could it be that you're a little donkey? Yun Chujie stood up and hid behind Mo Fongbing as she said with a smile. Mo Fengjiao was so angry that her hands were trembling. Sister Fongbing, get out of the way. I must teach this country bumpkin a lesson today. Mo Fongbing stretched out her hand to stop Mo Fengjiao and said coldly, Fengjiao, I am the master today. If you want to fight, go back to your 5th room and fight again. Mo Fengjiao gritted her teeth but still did not dare to go against Mo Fongbing. She glared at Yun Chujie fiercely. Mo Fengjiao, if you have the ability, don't go back to your 5th room today. Otherwise, I will not let you off. After saying that, Mo Fengjiao ignored Yun Chujie and left angrily. Mo Fongbing gave a look to a maid who chased after her. On the surface she escorted Mo Fengjiao out of the room, but in fact she was monitoring her. Mo Fongbing glanced at Yun Chujie, who was chewing on the fruit, and said coldly, Mo Fongbing, you deliberately drove Mo Fengjiao away, right? Yun Chujie took 2 bites of the spiritual fruit and said with a smile, Sister Fongbing, why do you say that? Mo Fongbing coldly snorted, I admit that you are indeed very smart. But your little tricks are useless in front of me. I don't know what kind of bewitching soup you gave great-grandfather. Not only did you reward him with an alchemy furnace for the first time, but you even asked me to find a reason to call you to the manor. I'm warning you, don't have any improper thoughts. You're just a junior from a branch. My great-grandfather won't value you. Yun Chujie casually tossed the fruit core behind her, then she took out a handkerchief and wiped her hands. Sister Fongbing, you're really thinking too much. I'm just here to ask for some advice on alchemy. Moreover, you're the eldest great-grandfather's great-granddaughter. Are you afraid that a little girl like me who has 5 servings will compete with you for favor? Mo Fongbing's thoughts were exposed by Yun Chujie. The cold expression on her face could not be maintained. Mo Fongbing, I don't have time to argue with you. Remember what I said today. If you anger me, I won't be like that idiot Mo Fengjiao who will only scare you. Yun Chujie's face was still smiling. Sister Fongbing, I have a very good memory. I will remember every word you said. By the way, I think the spirit fruits and pastries taste good. Can I take them with me? Mo Fangbing's face stiffened. Then she glared at Yun Chujio and said coldly to the other maid, "Take her to my great-grandfather's courtyard." Yun Chujio never knew what embarrassment was. She put all the food on the stone table into her storage ring and jumped down from the pavilion. Before she left, she looked back and smiled. "Sister Fongbing, thank you for your warm hospitality. Don't worry, I'm really just here to ask about alchemy. We will meet often in the future. Prepare more delicious food for me." Mo Fongbing looked at Yun Chujio's back and was so angry that she smashed the stone table into pieces. She knew that she had lost the first round. Because she was so angry with Yun Chujio, but Yun Chujio was not affected at all. Her composure was still not strong enough. "Sister maid, how should I address you?" Yun Chujio smiled and tried to get close to the maid. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The servant girl was obviously confused by the way Yun Chujio addressed her. She paused for a moment before answering, "Miss F&O, you can just call me King. I can't bear the way you addressed me just now. Even Sister Fangbing's servant girl is so cultured. It really makes me feel inferior. King, let me ask you, how many years have you served Sister Fongbing?" "This servant has served the eldest miss for 5 years. The corner of Kayun's eyes twitched. "Feeling inferior? That smug expression of yours should be described as smug, okay? 5 years. Then there was no value in poaching her. She would probably be loyal long ago unless something happened. Kane, I think the pastries just now taste pretty good. I wonder how the food in our residence tastes like." Since there was no value in poaching her, then she would tease her. It's all right." Kayun staggered. Even in her dreams she did not expect Yun Chujio to ask such a question. Not to mention the young ladies of the family. Even an ordinary family like Biyun would not ask her if the food was good when she was a guest. This person was really good. Not only did she ask, she even shamelessly said "we." She was really friendly. "You are really humble. To be able to make such delicious pastries, the taste of the food is not bad either. I must stay for lunch today," Yun Chujio said with a smile as if she did not see Kai Yun's disdain. Kai Yun did not say anything. What a joke. What else could she say? Could it be that she could not stay? For the first time, Kai Yun felt that the distance from the garden to the Great Elder's courtyard was so long because Yun Chujio kept chattering beside her. Basically, it was all about the food in the big house. For example, what did Mo Fongbing usually eat for 3 meals a day? For example, what was the best dish in the big kitchen? When Kai Yun saw the Great Elder's courtyard, she excitedly said loudly, "Miss Fongchao, the Great Elder's courtyard is right in front. This servant will send you here. This servant will take my leave." After saying that, Kai Yun hurriedly ran away, afraid that Yun Chujio would ask the Great Elder what he ate for 3 meals a day on a whim. Yun Chujio curled her lips and walked to the door of the courtyard. The guards at the door had obviously received the order, so a guard immediately brought Yun Chujio to the Great Elder's study. Yun Chujio saw the Great Elder sitting behind the desk and the corner of her mouth twitched. She saw the Great Elder wrapped himself up tightly, only revealing a pair of eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything. Panda N0VLDGK, was this Great Elder planning to become a mummy? "Fongchao girl, you're here? I suddenly caught a cold yesterday and I was afraid of infecting you, so I wrapped myself up so tightly," the Great Elder said kindly. "Thank you for the Great Elder's love and care. I'm really touched. You should pay more attention to your body." Although Yun Chujio said that she was touched in her heart, she pursed her lips and said it nicely. She was wrapped up so tightly because she was afraid that she would see the fact that her body was weak. "You came yesterday and said that you have some difficult questions to ask me about the pills. Tell me, what questions do you have?" The Great Elder saw that Yun Chujio did not have any other expression other than being touched, and his heart became uncertain. Was it just a coincidence that this little girl gave him the bone-quenching pill? "Great Master, I once read in a book that there is a type of medicinal pill that can stimulate a person's potential in a short period of time. I wonder if there is such a medicinal pill?" Yun Chujio asked with a smile. However, the hand in her sleeve was holding the Shadow Escape Talisman that still had the effect of 15 minutes. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The great elder was shocked. He did not expect Yun Chujio to ask about the hidden dragon pill so openly. A trace of killing intent flashed across his heart. However, the great elder was a suspicious person. He was afraid that Yun Chujio had a backup plan, so he decided to probe further. Thus he said, "This little girl knows quite a lot. Not bad, there is indeed such a pill. Why are you asking about this?" "Great old master, you called me here today because I gave you the bone-tempering pill yesterday, right? I won't hide it anymore. I think you must have taken the pill that I mentioned, so I gave you a bottle of bone-tempering pill." Yun Chujio decided to take the initiative to attack. "Not bad. How did you see that I took that pill?" The great old master's eyes narrowed. This little girl really knew the truth. She actually said it just like that. Was she ignorant and fearless, or did she have other plans? Yun Chujio smiled awkwardly. "Great-grandfather, I only smelled the scent of the heart-devouring vine when I was refining pills in the pill refining room. Originally, this heart-devouring vine was usually used to make heart-devouring powder, so it's nothing strange. But I also smelled the scent of zishin. I once read in an ancient book that both of these are highly toxic medicinal herbs. But if you add some other medicinal herbs, it's said to have the effect of stimulating one's potential for a short period of time. I also thought of some of the changes in Xiao An's grandfather's expression, so I guessed that in order to intimidate Xiao An's grandfather, you probably took the risk to take that kind of medicinal pill." The leaves of the Guai Chao in Yun Chujia's dantian trembled. This little girl is really shameless. "Did you sniff it out? Did you sniff it out?" It was clearly the herb that sniffed it out. "I don't know who asked me about the herb the day before yesterday, but his skin is really thick." The great elder was extremely shocked. Just based on the smell of the herb, this little girl was able to guess that he had refined the hidden dragon pill. Wasn't this talent too heaven-defying? Moreover, she was able to guess the hidden undercurrents of the Mo family from Xiao An's expression. This ability to see through the situation was too strong. Not to mention the younger generation, even Xiao Quan might not have such insight. "Then why did you give me the bone-quenching pill?" Although the great elder was shocked, he did not show it on his face. Besides, he was wearing a mask. "Great elder, although I don't know what kind of medicine you took, I think that stimulating people's potential in a short time is nothing more than speeding up the consumption of blood essence. The bone-quenching pill should have some effect." Although Yun Chujio looked very relaxed on the surface, she was actually very nervous. Yun Chujio saw that the great elder was frowning. She gritted her teeth and continued with a desperate expression, "Great master, I won't be shameless today. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. After I went back, I didn't sleep for almost the entire night. I also hesitated whether or not I should come and look for you. I know that the matter of you taking the medicine is of great importance. If it's not done properly, it will cause turmoil in the Mo family. So, perhaps you will imprison me in order to prevent the news from leaking out and I will lose my freedom. However, if you really die, then the Mo family would fall into chaos. Although our Guangshuan branch is far away in the western continent, our interests are closely related. If the Mo family is in chaos, we won't be able to recover. Furthermore, this is the first time I've seen such a kind elder like you. I admire and respect you from the bottom of my heart. I don't want to just watch you die. When I think about it, I won't be able to see you in the future. My heart is about to break." Xiao Hanio, who was inside the spiritual beast pouch, almost vomited. His master's ability to lie had increased again. It was simply perfection. The great elder saw that Yun Chujia's tears were falling and her shoulders were twitching. Clearly she was extremely sad. Although he did not believe that Yun Chujio had such a deep admiration for him after only meeting him once. However, his killing intent had weakened slightly. The great elder did not speak. He was ready to hear what Yun Chujio would say next. Yun Chujio wiped her tears with her sleeve. Then she continued, "Great elder, I originally had a glimmer of hope that you would have the antidote for that medicine. However, after seeing your appearance today, I knew that you definitely did not have the antidote. Moreover, I'm afraid that the antidote would be very easy to obtain. Therefore I have a request. You can leave me in the eastern continent. In the future you can personally guide me to learn alchemy skills. I will definitely help you refine the antidote. I can swear to the heavens that if these words of mine are not sincere, I will be struck to death by the heavenly lightning. My soul will scatter and I will die a horrible death." Pan de N0 VL. After hearing Yun Chujia's words, The great elder did not speak for a long time. He coldly said, "You are only a level 10 alchemist while I am already a level 14 alchemist. Rather than nurturing you, I might as well place my hopes on myself. Great old master, although what you said is reasonable, I have an advantage over you. That is, I am young. I can enter a famous academy or enter a large sect. This way, even if my ability is not enough to refine the antidote, I can still have a way to obtain the antidote." Yun Chujio straightened her small waist. She said confidently. The great elder was clearly shocked by her words. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that what Yun Chujio said might not be a bad idea. Although the level 27th transformation life creation pill wasn't available on the market, it might be available in a super sect or a first-class family. If he wanted to find a way to build a relationship with them, it would be worth it even if he had to spend a lot of money. However, although this method wasn't bad, this little girl was overestimating herself. How could she enter a well-known academy or a large sect with her talent? What a joke. Feng Chao girl, your suggestion is not bad. However, instead of nurturing you, I might as well nurture Feng Bing. After all, her talent is much better than yours. Moreover, her maternal family is a second-class family. The first elder's tone was cold. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Moreover, the little girl's words were very clear. Guang Xuanji had clearly expressed his attitude. As long as they could think of a way to return to the eastern continent, then Guang Xuanji would become the big branch's money-making tool in the future. Although the great elder was extremely excited in his heart, he still said coldly, "What you said makes some sense. However, this matter is of great importance. I will think about it again. If the matter of me taking the medicine were to be leaked, you know the consequences." "Great elder, don't worry. I understand the stakes. If I didn't have your permission, if I were to tell others about this matter, I would be struck by lightning and die a horrible death." This guy had almost become a mantra. Anyway, this guy was eager to be struck by lightning. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, the great elder nodded. "In that case, you can go back. After I have thought about it, I will find a reason to call you over." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and said with a smile, "Great elder, I have a presumptuous request. Can you let me go back to the 5th room after I'm full? I'm starving." This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The great elder's face stiffened. He had never expected Yun Chujio to make such a request. He paused for a moment, then he called a guard in. "Tell the kitchen to prepare an exquisite feast. Feng Chao and I will have lunch together." After the guard agreed, he left. Yun Chujio thanked him with a smile. "This is so troublesome. I thought that eating a few buns would be enough. I didn't expect you to reward me with a feast. You are the kindest elder I have ever met." The corner of the great elder's eyes twitched. "Sit there and wait. I think lunch will be ready in less than an hour." Yun Chujio naturally did not stand on ceremony. She swaggered on the chair. This fellow would not let go of a single opportunity. She took this opportunity to pick a few questions about alchemy to consult the great elder. The questions this fellow picked were very difficult to come to a conclusion. This was the only way to show her outstanding talent. Moreover, this kind of question was beneficial for the two of them to discuss and deepen the great elder's impression of her. Yun Chujio and the great elder were chatting enthusiastically over here. Some people in the large room could not sit still anymore. Mo Feng Bing had sent a maid to keep an eye on the great elder's courtyard. She had thought that Yun Chujio would come out in 15 minutes at most. After all, the great elder liked peace and quiet, so he wouldn't talk to her all the time. But after waiting for a while, Yun Chujio didn't come out. Moreover, the maid ran over and reported, "Miss, I heard from Cui Yen in the kitchen that the guards in the great elder's courtyard ordered them to prepare a good banquet. They said that they want to entertain Miss Feng Chao." "What?" Mo Feng Bing stood up in shock. How was this possible? Not to mention that smelly girl Mo Feng Bing. Even her grandfather rarely had the chance to have a meal with her great-grandfather. What right did Mo Feng Bing have? What right did she have? Kai Yun saw the situation and said, "Eldest miss, when Miss Feng Bing and this servant left, they also asked about the food in our manor. Could it be that she was too greedy, so she begged the great elder to give her a banquet?" The great elder ordered her to do so out of respect? Mo Fangbing frowned. Although what you said makes sense, why does great-grandfather have to care about the face of a little girl from a branch? This Mo Fangchao is really evil. Young miss, aren't you overestimating her? She is just a branch's young miss and her spiritual power is so low. She can't be compared to you at all, another servant Kai Xia said. Mo Fangbing didn't say anything. Although she felt that Yun Chujio couldn't be compared to her, she somehow felt a sense of crisis and her heart felt uneasy. Kai Yun, follow me to see grandfather. Mo Fangbing decided to go to Missouri Zioquan's place to find out the truth. Mo Fangbing brought Kai Yun to Mo Zioquan's courtyard. After the guards passed the message, Mo Fangbing came to Mo Zioquan's study room. Fangbing, is there something you want to talk to grandfather about? Mo Xiaoquan asked with a smile. Although Mo Fangbing was a granddaughter, Mo Xiaoquan had always thought highly of her because of her good aptitude and the fact that her maternal grandfather's family was a second-class family. Grandfather, it's actually not a big deal. It's just that Sister Fangchao has been staying in great-grandfather's study room all this while. Moreover, great-grandfather even ordered the kitchen to prepare a good banquet. I feel that it's necessary to report this to you. After all, she was invited to admire the flowers in my name. What? She hasn't left yet? She's still staying for lunch? When Mo Xiaoquan heard Mo Fangbing's words, he was also quite shocked. How was this possible? After his father found out the truth, he should have dismissed that Mo Fangchao long ago. Why was she still staying for lunch? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Fangbing, you go back first. Grandfather will go to your great-grandfather's place to take a look. Mo Xiaoquan was suspicious. Could it be that something happened in the middle? It was better to take a look. This was the reason why Mo Fangbing came. Naturally, she stopped when things were good. After bowing, she took her leave. Mo Xiaoquan also rushed out of his own courtyard and came to the great elder's courtyard. Although he was the current head of the family, he still needed to be informed by the guards before he could enter. Very soon the guards let Mo Xiaoquan into the courtyard. Mo Xiaoquan had yet to enter the study room when he heard the laughter of the great elder coming from inside, and it was the kind of laughter that was heartily laughing. Mo Xiaoquan could not help but frown. Ever since his father knew that his days were numbered, he rarely laughed, let alone heartily laughing. What kind of bewitching potion did that Mo Fangchao give his father? Mo Xiaoquan pushed the door open and walked in. He saw the great elder sitting behind the desk. The mask on his face had long been removed, while Yun Chujie was sitting on a chair at the side, holding a spirit fruit in her hand as she spoke and chewed. It was simply more leisurely and carefree than being in her own home. When Yun Chujie saw Mo Xiaoquan enter, she hurriedly put the spirit fruit aside, then stood up and bowed. Mo Xiaoquan waved his hand with a cold expression and then asked the great elder, "Father, I heard that you are going to hold a banquet to entertain the Fangchao girl. You haven't had a good rest recently. Why don't you let the Tian clan entertain the Fangchao girl?" The great elder glanced at Mo Xiaoquan and naturally knew his intention. However, he and Yun Chujie were currently discussing the issue of medicinal pills, so how could he be willing? Hence he said, "There's no need to make a fuss. Since you're here, let's eat together. It'll be more lively for the three of us to eat together." Mo Xiaoquan simply felt that the first elder was a little abnormal today. Usually he wanted to accompany the first elder to eat, but the first elder was unwilling to be noisy. Today he actually liked to be lively again. What exactly was going on? Although Mo Xiaoquan was puzzled, he did not dare to say anything more. He sat on a chair at the side, wanting to see what exactly was going on. "Fangchao girl, there's no need to bother about your grandfather. Let's continue discussing the problem from before. I think that the snake vine grass effect is still more towards relieving pain. As for the blood stasis effect that you mentioned, although it has some effect, its effect is still limited." "Great elder, I don't agree with your point of view. Although the snake vine grass blood stasis effect is limited, that's because if used together with the heavens will grass, the blood stasis effect would be even better than the 5-leaf purple peony." The great elder was stunned at first, then slapped his thigh. That makes sense. That makes sense. Why didn't I think of this combination? Wonderful. Really wonderful. Emo Xiaoquan knew nothing about alchemy, so the conversation between Yun Chujio and the Great Elder was like a heavenly book to him. He saw that the Great Elder and Yun Chujio were very congenial, and a trace of displeasure rose in his heart. He had some complaints towards the First Elder. This Emo Fengchao was merely a junior who had taken 5 servings of it. Although he knew some medicinal properties, he did not think much of it. After a while the banquet was served. At first Yun Chujio was still pretending to be very reserved. After the First Elder said that she should not be reserved, this fellow let himself go. She completely ignored Emo Xiaoquan's cold gaze and ate happily. As she ate, she even praised the taste of the food. Seeing that she was eating so sweetly, the First Elder couldn't help but add half a bowl of rice. As for Emo Xiaoquan, he was very depressed. After eating less than a bowl of rice, he put down his chopsticks. After lunch, Yun Chujio should have stood up and left. However, after sipping a few cups of tea, she asked a few more ambiguous questions, which made the Great Elder speak with confidence. He did not even think about serving tea to send the guests off. Emo Xiaoquan was at the side, coughing and winking. However, the Great Elder acted as if he did not see him. In the end he said, "Xiaoquan, don't waste your time here. Feng Chao will accompany me." "That's right, Grandfather Xiaoquan. Go and do your thing. I will accompany the Great Elder and chat with him. I have nothing to do anyway. I still want to have dinner before going back." Emo Xiaoquan. Although Emo Xiaoquan was extremely dissatisfied with the Great Elder's actions, he could not say anything. He turned around and left. In the evening, Yun Chujio got her wish and had dinner. Only then did she swagger out of the house. At this time the sun had just set and the sky had already started to darken. Normally Yun Chujio did not bring any guards. The house should have sent 2 guards to escort her back to the 5th house. However, Emo Xiaoquan was very disgusted with her now. Why would he think of sending guards for her? Yun Chujio did not mind. And Feng had been protecting her in the dark anyway. Moreover, the house was only 15 minutes away from the 5th house. Yun Chujio was in a good mood. Although the Great Elder did not give her a definite answer, it was basically a done deal. The Great Elder would definitely agree. When the time came, she would use the Mo family as a springboard to fight for a chance to enter a good school or a big sect. Then she would find a chance to return to the Yi family and find out the inside story of her mother's expulsion back then. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, she felt her scalp go numb. Subconsciously, she activated all the defensive spirit tools on her body and leaped forward with all her might. In an instant, a brilliant light flashed and more than half of the defensive spirit tools on Yun Chujio's body were shattered. Even so, her heart still felt slightly uncomfortable. It could be seen that the spiritual power of the person who came was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the sound of a fight could be heard. And Feng, who was following not far away, realized that something was wrong and rushed up to fight with the person who attacked Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio looked closely and saw that the person who fought with Feng was a masked man. She could only tell that it was a man based on his figure and nothing else could be seen. The masked man's spiritual power was extremely high, and Feng was at a complete disadvantage. He would probably die in less than 10 moves. Yun Chujio naturally wouldn't just stand by and watch. At this moment she couldn't care less. She released the 5 refined iron puppets and released the spiritual piglets to charge at the masked man. Seeing Yun Chujio release the 5 puppets and the spiritual piglets, the masked man looked at her with contempt. However, after the fight he couldn't help but be surprised. This refined iron puppet could actually attack on its own? That spiritual piglet could actually devour spiritual power? This darn girl had some skills. Even so, Yun Chujio and Feng were still not a match for the intruders. Yun Chujio had quite a number of burst talismans in her hands. However, when the 2 sides engaged in close combat, using talismans was equivalent to injuring 1,000 enemies and damaging 800 enemies. It was basically useless. Soon Feng and Yun Chujio were both injured. Although it was not fatal, their fighting strength was greatly weakened. If this continued, their lives would be in danger. Yun Chujio used a high-level materialization spell in a moment of desperation. However, she was not confident herself. The high-level materialization piglet was just a little more flexible. The masked man thought that the spiritual piglet released by Yun Chujio was no different from the previous one. After using spiritual power to attack, he saw that the spiritual piglet's body would fade away soon, so he did not care too much. Just as Yun Chujio was about to release another wave of piglets, she saw those piglets with faint spiritual power gather together again, forming a purple piglet. Not only was the color of this piglet different from the previous piglets, but its body size was obviously larger than the previous piglets. The purple piglet suddenly pounced on the masked man's face. Because things were too strange, the masked man was a little stunned and was pounced on by the purple piglet. The masked man's face was pasted on by the purple piglet, which gave Yun Chujio a chance to use the talisman. Feng and the refined iron puppet were all pushed back by Yun Chujio, and the super-grade sudden rupture talisman kept smashing on the masked man's body. This guy knew that he only had one chance. If he didn't kill this masked man, he wouldn't have another chance to turn the tables. Therefore he kept throwing the burst talisman and almost threw a sack full of super-grade burst talismans at the masked man. A loud cracking sound was heard and the masked man's screams were heard. Soon a deep pit was created on the ground. Yun Chujio was afraid that the masked man would not die completely, so she threw away the half-sack of super-grade sudden rupture talisman. Only then did she carefully come to the edge of the deep pit. The bottom of the deep pit was charred black. Yun Chujio asked Puppet Number 1 to go down and search for it. She only found a storage ring and a few fragments of jade tokens. It seemed that the masked man had been blown to smithereens. "Miss Jiu, someone is coming," Feng said in a low voice. "It's probably someone from the Mo family. You go first, I'll deal with it myself," Yun Chujio said as she put away the things in the pit and the puppet. This guy thought for a while and rubbed his face and clothes with the black ash. Then he jumped to the bottom of the pit and lay down with his face facing the sky. After the loud explosion, the 5 houses of the Mo family, the main house of the Mo family, and even the other 3 houses on the other side of the street were all alerted. As a result, they all sent people to investigate. Everyone was shocked when they saw the deep pit on the ground. Was it man-made or was it a natural disaster? If it was man-made, then the spiritual power of the 2 people fighting was too terrifying. At this time, Mo Shouting saw Yun Chujio at the bottom of the pit and his head buzzed. Did Feng Chao die? Mo Shouting quickly flew to the bottom of the pit and checked Yun Chujio's breathing. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. The money tree was still alive. Yun Chujio took the opportunity to open her eyes and said in fear, "Grandfather, grandfather. You scared me to death." Mo Shouting comforted her for a while before he carried Yun Chujio onto his back. The first thing the Mo family did was not to worry about Yun Chujio's injuries, but to ask what was going on. Yun Chujio said in fear, "I was stopped by a masked man when I came out of the house. He said that the Mo family's business of monopolizing the eastern and western continents was immoral, and that he wanted to kill me to teach the Mo family a lesson. That man's spiritual power was very high, so how could I be his match? I was knocked out with just one slap, so I don't know what happened after that. I originally thought that I was going to die, but who would have thought that I was still alive? Sob sob, grandfather, I was scared to death." When the Mo family heard Yun Chujio's words, they could not help but discuss among themselves. Mo Shaoquan waved his hand and said, "Feng Chao girl was really scared. Let's go back to the 5th house first. Xiaofu, the 4 of you will come to the house tomorrow. Let's discuss this matter." The weak Yun Chujio was carried back to the New Moon Pavilion. Mo Shouting asked a few more questions, but Yun Chujio's story remained the same. This fellow's lying skills were extremely good, so Mo Shouting naturally did not find anything wrong with it. Yun Chujio told Mo Shouting the contents of her conversation with the first elder. Mo Shouting was naturally pleasantly surprised, but then he remembered that the eastern and western continents were being coveted, so he was both happy and sad. He didn't know whether he should be worried or happy. After Mo Shouting left, Yun Chujio quickly sat up on the bed and took out the jade plate and storage ring that the masked man had left behind. Most of the jade plate had been destroyed, leaving behind only a few pieces of debris. When they were put together, it was impossible to tell what was inside. All she could tell was that it was carved out of the best 10,000-year-old cold jade. She then sent her divine sense into the storage ring and found that there were about 10 million high-grade spirit stones, some spirit tools and talismans. What made her most happy was that there was also a shadow escape talisman inside. Yun Chujio wanted to find something about the identity of the masked man, so she rummaged through it and finally found 2 sets of clothes. There was an ancient character embroidered on the lower right corner of the clothes. Yun Chujio recognized this ancient character. It was Yi. Yun Chujio's eyes darkened. The Yi family? Could it be that the masked man was sent by the Yi family? Yun Chujio touched her chin. Things were getting more and more interesting. Logically speaking, she was only the daughter of a concubine who had been expelled from the Yi family. She would not be an eyesore to the Yi family at all. However, someone could not sit still and wanted to kill her as soon as she arrived at the eastern continent. It seemed that there was indeed an inside story behind her mother's expulsion. Yun Chujio rummaged through her storage ring again. She didn't find anything else about the identity of the masked man, so she put the storage ring away. Yun Chujio thought for a while. Since someone from the Yi family had the intention to kill her, they would definitely not let it go. It seemed that she had to quickly gain the trust of the great elder before heading to the academy or a large sect. When she arrived at a famous academy or a large sect, at least the Yi family wouldn't dare to act recklessly again. Moreover, they could learn some self-defense skills. Yun Chujio thought of the purple piglet that saved her life again. With a wave of her palm, several piglets of spiritual power were released. Just as the piglet of spiritual power was about to disappear, the purple piglet appeared again. The purple piglet waved its big ears at Yun Chujio, looking very cute. Yun Chujio couldn't help but show her little white teeth, although she knew that she couldn't communicate with the purple piglet. However, she still smiled and said, "Although I feel that my high-level spiritual beast is a little cowardly, but you saved my life today, so I think you are still not bad." The purple pig rolled its eyes and disappeared with a puff. Yun Chujio could not help but stare. "Oh, shouldn't spiritual beasts disappear when their spiritual power is exhausted? Why did her spiritual beast disappear just like that? Could it be that it could control the time when it disappeared? What the hell?" Yun Chujio waved her palm again. She did not expect that when the spiritual piglets disappeared this time, the purple piglet did not appear. Yun Chujio tried a few more times, but the purple piglet still did not appear. Yun Chujio was furious. "Fuck. Purple piglet, I'm warning you. If you don't appear again, don't ever appear again. You're a spiritual beast and you're still going to be arrogant with me? Even Xiaohei, that black phoenix, doesn't dare to show off in front of me, but you dare to show off in front of me. I think you're looking for trouble. Let me tell you, don't think that I can't teach you a lesson. I'm a genius with a heavenly thunder spirit root, and I don't believe that I can't summon other spiritual beasts. Do you think that I care about a pig like you?" Chapter 2136 Purple Piglet's good name. After Yun Chujio grumbled, she raised her hand and released a group of piglets with spiritual power. When the piglets were about to dissipate, the purple piglet appeared. However, it used its butt to face Yun Chujio, obviously still in a bad mood. Yun Chujio pouted. "I'll count to 3. If you don't turn around, I've decided to change to a spiritual beast. Anyway, which wolf, tiger, or leopard isn't stronger than a pig like you? 1, 2. Before Yun Chujio could say 3, the purple piglet turned its head around. It was obviously cowardly. "Humph. At least you know what's good for you. Don't you see what kind of person your master is? He actually dared to quarrel with me. I think you deserve to be taught a lesson. However, I'm a magnanimous person and can reluctantly forgive you. On account of you saving my life, I'll give you a nice name," Yun Chujio said while stroking her chin. The purple piglet flapped its big ears and wagged its small tail. It was obviously looking forward to Yun Chujio giving it a name. The 4 animals in the spiritual beast bag looked at each other. That silly pig was going to suffer. The black-hearted owner was useless at giving names. He definitely wouldn't be able to give it a good name. Yun Chujio touched her chin and scratched her head. Finally, her eyes lit up. "You'll be called Dehua from now on." The purple piglet was so angry that it could barely maintain its body. "Dehua. Are you sure that this is a name that a spiritual beast should have? Besides, where did she spend it? She was clearly purple, alright? Why? Are you not satisfied? Then you shall be called Little Fatso? Little Fatso? Little Piglet." The purple piglet disappeared with a puff. Did this black-hearted master choose a name? One was worse than the other. Yun Chujio coughed guiltily and said, "Since there is no objection, I will take it as your acquiescence. From now on you will be called Dehua. I think this name is quite good." The little black bird in the spirit beast bag asked weakly, "Master, that spirit piglet is clearly purple. Why did you name it Dehua?" Xiao Hanyo asked why. Can't be called Dazi, right? Dehua is easier to say, so I'll just call it Dehua. Yun Chujio pouted and said. The little black bird now felt that its name was quite high-end compared to Dehua. Poor Dehua, I'll light a candle for you. Xiao Hanio thought. Please read on /mbox and 0 veal calm. While Yun Chujio was mumbling, she heard someone crazily pounding on the door outside the courtyard. Open the door. Open the door. Mo Fengjiao. Get out here. Yun Chujio curled her lips. It turned out that this silly girl Mo Fengjiao had come looking for her. Chun Xiao, open the door and let Sister Fengjiao in. Yun Chujio walked to the door and said to Chun Xiao, who was in a side room. Chun Xiao and Chun, you were supposed to take turns to be on night duty outside Yun Chujio's bedroom, but Yun Chujio found an excuse to not let them be on night duty, so the two of them had to follow Yun Chujio's arrangements. Chun Xiao opened the door and Mo Fengjiao walked in angrily. Mo Fengjiao. You're good, you actually dare to lie to me? Yun Chujio said with a smile. Sister Fengjiao, why do you say that? When have I ever lied to you? You still dare to quibble? Didn't you say that you were going to cause trouble for Sister Fengbing? Why did you become a lackey when you got there? Also, you actually dared to call me a pig and a little bastard in my previous life. You deserve to die. Mo Fengjiao was about to explode from anger when she recalled what happened in the morning. Yun Chujio waved her hand at Chun Xiao. Chun Xiao, you can leave first. I'll have a private talk with Sister Fengjiao. Chapter 2137 Tian Dao's favorite. After Chun Xiao went out, Yun Chujio closed the door and said mysteriously, Sister Fengjiao, you really misunderstood me. I was just acting. Acting? What kind of acting? Mo Fengjiao asked in confusion. Sister Fengjiao, you also know that Sister Fengbing not only has high spiritual power, but her maternal family is also a second-class family. If we openly oppose her, will we have a good ending? So, I'm just acting to make her think that we don't have a good relationship. Then I'll think of a way to get close to her. Only then will I have a chance to make things difficult for her. Yun Chujio said slyly. Mo Fengjiao snorted coldly. Humph. Who are you lying to? I don't believe it. Sister Fengjiao, how would I dare to lie to you? I came back after having lunch and dinner in the main room today. Do you know why? Isn't it because I fawned over Sister Fengbing? I'll often go to the main room to wash my face. When the time comes, you'll definitely find a suitable opportunity to embarrass Sister Fengbing. Just wait for my good news. Mo Fengjiao frowned. Although she felt that what Yun Chujio said made sense, she still felt that something was not right. However, she could not figure out what was wrong. Mo Fengjiao felt that her brain was not enough, so she decided to change the topic. Let's put this matter aside first. If I find out that you lied to me, I will not forgive you. I heard that you were attacked when you came back. What happened? Sister Fengjiao, you don't know. You scared me to death. When I came back, I met a masked man. Yun Chujio told her the truth. Since you fainted, how did you not die? Did someone save you? Mo Fengjiao asked in confusion. I don't know either. And there was such a deep pit on the ground. If it was someone who saved me, then the person's spiritual power must be very high. From what you mean, could it be that it was not someone who saved you? Mo Fengjiao asked in surprise. Sister Fengjiao, you also know that I have a heavenly thunder spirit root. Although this heavenly thunder spirit root is not tolerated by the Tian Dao, I have always been living well. Perhaps not only will I not be killed by the Tian Dao, perhaps the Tian Dao is actually looking out for me. It might be that the earth dragon suddenly turned over or some other strange phenomenon, so the person who killed me was scared away. Sister Fengjiao, I didn't tell anyone about this. You mustn't tell anyone else. Yun Chujio said mysteriously. Mo Fengjiao's eyes flashed. Yes, I won't tell anyone. It's getting late. You should rest early. After saying that, Mo Fengjiao walked out of the courtyard quickly, looking a little impatient. Please read on /mbox and 0 veal calm. The corners of Yun Chujio's mouth curled up. This divine assistant was really useful. One bucket after another, she did not know how many buckets she had changed. Yun Chujio finally felt the burning sensation on her right hand begin to weaken, and it slowly returned to normal as if what had happened before had never happened. The wound on Yun Chujio's right hand had long healed. The flame became even more bright red, and it was very eye-catching against Yoon Chujie's snow-white skin. Yoon Chujie's heart was also big. If an ordinary person encountered such a strange thing, they would definitely not be able to sleep and eat in peace. However, seeing that his hand did not hurt anymore, he was also tired from the torment. He laid on the bed and fell asleep immediately. What Yoon Chujio did not notice was that the large kitchen knife that she had casually thrown on the table emitted a faint glow, especially the blade. It was cold and sharp, and it did not look like the large kitchen knife that had a gap. However, in just an instant the large kitchen knife returned to its original appearance, as if what had just happened was just an illusion. Although the people in the Great Elder's bespectacled manor were spouting nonsense, paper could not cover fire. The people from the other 4 houses still knew that Yoon Chujio and the Great Elder were learning alchemy. However, compared to the big house, the people from the other 4 houses were much calmer. If they felt that they should learn, so be it. What else could a little girl who had 5 uniforms do? Although Mo Xiaoan suspected that Guang Xuanji was trying to curry favor with Da Feng, he felt that it was unlikely. Although Guang Xuanji could earn money, Da Feng would not risk falling out with the 5th branch and collude with Guang Xuanji, therefore he did not care too much. That night, Yoon Chujio skipped back to the 5th branch after she finished her meal with the first elder. After practicing on the bed for a while, she felt a burning pain in her right hand again. Chapter 2140. The Emperor who turned into a goose. During this period of time, Yoon Chujio's right hand would feel a burning sensation every now and then. At first, Yoon Chujio found it hard to bear it and needed a lot of buckets of water to relieve it. Later on, she might have become numb and would be relieved after soaking in the water for a while. Yoon Chujio took out a bucket of water from her storage ring and put her right hand in it. Soon, a bucket of originally cold well water began to heat up. This fellow also knew how to make fun of himself. He said self-deprecatingly, "This is not bad. At least I don't need to boil the bath water. I can wait for this bucket of water to cool down a little before I take a bath." After a while, the temperature of the water dropped. This fellow took off his inner clothes and took a bath in the bathtub. At this moment, the door of the outer room opened. Di Baiming's voice came, "Little Jiu, I'm here to see you." Originally, the door was inserted from the inside, but this was too easy for Di Baiming. He broke the door bolt with one slap. Yoon Chujio heard the door and wanted to put on her clothes. At the very least, she had to cover herself with a blanket. However, when she heard Di Baiming's voice, she blinked her eyes and did not move. She continued to bathe happily. When Di Baiming entered the bedroom, he saw a big bathtub in the middle of the room. Yoon Chujio's long hair that was as black as ink and her shoulders were faintly discernible. Her small face was slightly flushed due to the heat. She looked at him with a smile. Di Baiming felt that the blood in his body was boiling and he did not know what to say. He just stared at Yoon Chujio in a daze and did not say anything. Yoon Chujio lifted a handful of water and splashed it on Di Baiming's face. "Hey, silly goose, are you stupid?" Di Baiming finally regained his senses. His face turned red and he said in embarrassment, "You should be more careful in the shower." "Fortunately, I'm the one who came in. What if someone else came in?" Yoon Chujio pouted and said, "I locked the door properly. Besides, I heard your voice, so I didn't get up. If it was someone else, I would have used the sudden rupture talisman to blast them." Di Baiming did not hear what Yoon Chujio said because his full attention was on Yoon Chujio's red lips and her half-exposed shoulder. If it were not for his willpower, he would have eaten Yoon Chujio apart and eaten her whole. Please read on /AUX0 Calm. Di Baiming forced himself to turn around and said through gritted teeth, "You put on your clothes first. We can talk later." Yoon Chujio knew that if the gun went off, she would be the one to suffer. After all, her menarche had never come. If they really had sex, it would definitely hurt her body. Chapter 2141. The Ancient Evil Formation. Di Baiming saw Yoon Chujio looking down and shouted angrily, "Turn around. What's there to be embarrassed about? Besides, it's not like I haven't seen it before. What's the point of being stingy?" Although this guy was saying all sorts of things, he was still a little embarrassed. However, if you have the ability, don't blush. If you have the ability, don't turn around. This was a typical case of a thief with a heart but no guts. For a moment the atmosphere in the room was very subtle. This was naturally the most suitable time to have sex. However, Yun Chujia's physical condition did not allow it, so the two of them did not know what to say. The most unlucky one was of course Guai Chao. Yun Chujio cursed it in her heart. If Guai Chao was not in Yun Chujia's dantian, Yun Chujio would have tortured it to death thousands of times by now. Di Baiming forced himself not to look at Yun Chujio. However, his mind was still filled with erotic images. His body became even hotter. He wished he could swallow Yun Chujio right away. Yun Chujio coughed dryly. That Prince Charming, let's change the topic. A few days ago I saw Big Brother Mermaid in the 1,000-feet mountain poison miasma forest. When Di Baiming heard the words Brother Mermaid, his attention was immediately diverted. His face sank. Why is that mermaid in the immortal Yuan continent? I don't know either. At that time there was a poisonous spring. After I absorbed all the poison inside, Brother Mermaid floated out. However, it wasn't Brother Mermaid himself. It should be his divine sense. In the end, he wanted to tell me to be careful of something or someone, but his divine sense dissipated before he could finish speaking. Yun Chujio told Di Baiming what happened that day. Di Baiming pondered for a moment. According to what I know, there was an ancient evil formation. It divided a person's divine sense into several parts and then used all kinds of poison to suppress it. Over time, the divine sense would be corroded by the poison. This kind of evil formation is usually not easy to use because it's too difficult to set up, unless it's used to deal with some people or demonic beasts with special parts of the body. Yun Chujio was stunned at first, then she said angrily, "Damn it. Which old bastard hates the mermaid brother so much? This method is too sinister. Why didn't he just kill the mermaid brother directly but tortured him like this?" There are two possibilities. One is that there is something special about the mermaid's body and there is no way to kill it. The other possibility is that he wants to control the mermaid's spiritual sense and use it for himself. Di Baiming said with a serious expression. He felt that the mermaid man's matter probably involved a shocking secret. Damn it. It's really too damn. When I find that old bastard, I will definitely help Brother Mermaid deal with him. Oh right, Prince Charming, how did you suddenly become so knowledgeable and talented? Yun Chujio asked with starry eyes. Maybe it's because a part of my seal has been broken, so I know more things. However, I still don't know anything about the strange grass in your dantian. But don't worry, I will definitely think of a way to help you get rid of the Guai Chao. Di Baiming said with certainty. The Guai Chao in Yun Chujia's dantian was trembling non-stop. It's over. After this damn gigolo's seal is completely broken, it will be the time for me to lose my life. What should I do? Pa. His seal should last for at least 10,000 years. No, it should never be broken. Please read on /yoxin0vocom. Yes, my Prince Charming, I believe in you. Right, look at this thing in my palm. What the hell is this? I don't need anything else to boil water now. I can just use my right hand to boil water. Yun Chujio pouted and extended her right hand in front of Di Baiming. Chapter 2142 The Origin of the Flame. Di Baiming looked down and saw a cluster of bright red flame on Yun Chujia's fair palm. It was very eye-catching. This, little Gio, what's going on? Don't mention it. Originally, I wanted to take advantage of it. Who would have thought that there was actually such a damn thing locked inside the stone wall? I clearly killed it in my spiritual sense. I don't know how it got into my palm. Yun Chujio said angrily. Tell me the whole story. Di Baiming frowned. Since it could heat up, it meant that this flame pattern was not as simple as the pattern. Yun Chujio told him the whole story. My Prince Charming, what is this damn flame? I have already let the spiritual pig devour it. How come it hasn't died yet? Di Baiming sighed. Little Gio, I don't know if this is a blessing in disguise or a blessing in disguise. This flame has a great origin. It should be the 10,000-year-old fire marrow that everyone couldn't find. Di Baiming was interrupted by Yun Chujio. This guy asked excitedly, what? 10,000-year-old fire marrow? Huh. Isn't it the 10,000-year-old fire marrow that can melt the 10,000-year-old black iron? So I can make 10,000 years of black iron puppets. Ha ha ha, when the time comes. Who else? Small 9, I haven't finished talking. You don't happy too early. Di Baiming simply cannot bear to look straight to a bit of sunshine on the brilliant set. Is this guy? Bitch. What meaning? Yun Chujio is a bit muddle-headed. Although the fire marrow in your palm is 10,000 years old, the implement spirit of the fire marrow has been killed by you, so now the fire marrow in your palm has no intelligence. Qiling said. In other words, you're not its master at all. You're just its temporary shelter. Unless it has intelligence again, you can only use the 10,000-year-old fire marrow as you like after you subdue it. What the hell? After all this time, this is just a useless thing? My life is so bitter. One or two of them came uninvited, but none of them were useful. That damn Xiao He said that he was a black phoenix, but I think he's just a big crow. That Xiao He rat is a stone-eating rat. In reality, other than digging holes, he doesn't know shit. That Xiao Hong is always hugging the bones of the nine-tailed fox and gnawing on them. But now it has only grown 4 tails. That Xiao Mogu is even more detestable. When I first saw it, it was awe-inspiring. But now, it was simply a weakling. Damn it, it even asked me to put a pile of soil in the spirit beast pouch and place large cloves of garlic on it all day long. Woo woo and the 3 in my dantian. Each of them was more shameless than the last. They occupied my dantian and did not come out. The most important thing was that they were completely useless. That damn dogtail caused me to be unable to eat meat even if I wanted to. I could only touch you to satisfy my craving. I'm really too miserable. Yun Chujio hugged Di Biming's snot in tears. Her hands were not idle as she continued to touch him. Please read on /myboxn0vil. Calm. Di Biming felt that a certain part of his body was about to explode. He could not bear it anymore. He carried Yun Chujio horizontally and pressed her on the bed. Yun Chujio saw the deep look in Di Biming's eyes. This guy was afraid. It was over. He had gone too far. The gigolo was going to force himself on her. What should she do? Although she wanted to have sex, her body was not strong enough. What if it would affect her ability to give birth to monkeys in the future? Well, my Prince Charming, emptiness is lust, lust is emptiness. Calm down, calm down. Don't judge me by my good looks. In fact, I'm just a little fairy who absorbs people's blood essence. What are you doing? Don't take my clothes off. Chapter 2143 Mini Glutinous Rice Balls. Yun Chujio was really scared this time. The inner garment on her body was torn to shreds by Di Biming, and only the inner garment was left on Di Biming. This fellow deeply understood 2 sentences. He had brought this upon himself, and another sentence was, if he didn't do it he wouldn't die. Di Biming's deep gaze swept across Yun Chujio's body, and Yun Chujio couldn't help but tremble slightly. She was both embarrassed and afraid. She stuttered, "Look, what are you looking at?" I haven't had any waves yet. Look, what are you looking at? Di Biming's Adam's apple bobbed. Even though I don't have a big bun, I can make do with a small steamed bun. You are shameless. Sop, you only know how to bully me. Do you think I want a small steamed bun? Still a damn guaichao. Sop, you all bully me. This fellow was both embarrassed and angry. He simply howled again. Alright, stop crying, I won't touch you. Di Biming sighed, picked up the blanket and covered Yun Chujio's body, while he lay on the other side. How could he not care about what Yun Chujio's body really wanted? He just wanted to scare Yun Chujio so that she would not always fan the flames, but not put out the fire which would make him want to explode. Woo woo, but you don't like me as a little dumpling. This guy was crying even harder. Sigh. Don't say that you are a little dumpling, you are. I like Tang Yuan too. Di Biming's face turned red after he said that. Yun Chujio was stunned. She lifted the blanket and looked at her chest. It was really not as big as a little dumpling. It was really a Tang Yuan, and it was a mini Tang Yuan. This fellow cursed Go Weiba a few hundred times in anger before hugging Di Biming and acting coquettishly. Prince Charming, I knew you were the best. This fellow was really big-hearted. He did not think that he was naked now and was hugging Di Biming just like that. Unless Di Biming was a eunuch, how could he bear it? Di Biming felt that he had dug a deep hole for himself. On one hand, his body was so hot that it was about to explode. On the other hand, he could not hurt his sweetheart's rationality. He was on the verge of breaking down. Di Biming's forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. You put on your clothes first. Yun Chujio finally realized that something was wrong. She picked up the blanket and covered her face. Damn it, she was too ashamed to see anyone. Please read on /aoxn0vil. This guy was embarrassed and angry. He cursed Go Weiba again. Damn it. Damn Go Weiba. If it wasn't for you, would I have had to endure so much? Such a perfect Prince Charming is placed in front of me. I can only see but not touch him. It's so painful that I want to die. Biming listened by the side and thought to himself, this line should be mine, right? You endured so much? I'm about to explode. Yun Chujio cursed for a while before taking out a set of undergarments from her storage ring. She hid under the blanket and changed into it. Only then did she get out from under the blanket. Yun Chujio's face was blushing. She was really as beautiful as a peach blossom, especially her two red lips. Biming couldn't resist anymore and kissed her. Although he could not eat all the black stuff, it would be good to collect a deposit first. Just as Biming's lips covered Yun Chujio's lips, the voice transmission talisman in the storage ring started to vibrate. He originally did not plan to respond, but someone knocked on the door. Your Majesty, someone is coming. And Feng's heart was broken. He knew that His Majesty Xiao He must have written him a debt, but he had no choice. If someone came and barged in, it would be bad. Chapter 2144. Guai Chao's ridiculed, fuck off. Settle it yourself. If you can't settle it, I'll settle it myself. Biming was already very angry even though he couldn't eat the big meal. Now that he was interrupted just as he was about to eat a small snack, one could imagine the depression in his heart. The miserable dark wind had a confused look on his face. Settle it himself? How should he settle it? Could it be that he killed the person who came? If it was in the past, this fellow might have thought that Biming's words were just to scare him. But now he was not sure about this evil star who was getting colder and colder. It was better for him to solve it obediently. The person who came was Imo Fengjiao. She was basically used to coming to Yun Chujio's place every now and then to gather information. If she did not come in a few days, she would feel that she was lacking something. She originally didn't want to come over today, but when she thought about the news she heard, she couldn't sit still. Although it was already late, she still ran over. And Feng saw that Imo Fengjiao was alone and didn't bring a maid, so he gritted his teeth. No matter what, he had to knock her unconscious first. He would let Ninth Miss handle the aftermath. After all, Ninth Miss was resourceful and could do anything she wanted. Open the door. Imo Fengjiao opened the door quickly. I have something important to ask you, Imo Fengjiao said as she knocked on the door. And Feng cursed in his heart. Something important. What was important? No matter how important it was, there was still our superior's unsatisfied desires. Was intimacy important? And Feng opened the door from the inside. Imo Fengjiao was a little puzzled. The door was open. Where was the maid who opened the door? Before she could react, and Feng swung his knife and knocked Imo Fengjiao unconscious on the ground. And Feng could not help but let out a long breath. Fortunately, it was nighttime and it was a sneak attack. Otherwise, it would not have been easy to succeed. He was not as perverted as his lord. The two maids fainted just by swinging their sleeves. And Feng closed the door again. He was afraid that Imo Fengjiao would not faint completely, so he smelled some sleeping powder for her. Only then did he feel at ease. At this moment, Biming and Yun Chujio did not have the time to care about who was in the room. As they were kissing each other, Biming reached his hand into Yun Chujio's clothes. The two of them trembled and started kissing even more intensely. After a long time, the two of them reluctantly separated. Biming only had one thought in his mind. No matter what, he had to get rid of the damn Guai Chao. Otherwise, if he kept holding it in, it would really kill him. Please read on /Oxen0 Volcom. Yun Chujio's eyes were watery, and a thought flashed through her mind. If she could get rid of the Guai Chao, she would have to fight with the pretty boy for 3 days and 3 nights. The Guai Chao thought that it might be the most hateful grass in the world, but there was nothing it could do. It also wanted to grow in other places, but it could not find a suitable place. Besides, why did this black-hearted little girl remember to fight and not eat? Who helped her to be immune to all poisons? Who helped her summon demonic beasts? Who helped her resist the heat? If it wasn't for this black-hearted little girl, she would have died hundreds of times. Didn't it just stop 2 people from having sex? What was so bad about that? It had even made a huge contribution to the late marriage and late childbirth. If Yun Chujio knew the thoughts of Guai Chao, she would probably turn it into a specimen. It was the kind of powder specimen. Little Jiu, by the way, I came here mainly to hear from Infeng that you were attacked. Who wants to kill you? Di Baiming's eyes revealed a trace of viciousness. The Yi family, which is also my grandfather's family. Yun Chujio told him what happened. Although the Yi family is a first-class family to me, it's no problem to kill them all. Do you need me to kill them all? Di Baiming thought about how Yun Chujio was almost killed. He did not care about the bullshit 3-year pact. He wished that he could kill all the members of the Yi family to vent his anger. Chapter 2145. A silly goose with a lump in its head. Yun Chujio shook her head when she heard Di Baiming's words. Prince Charming, I appreciate your kindness. You know that I'm not a pretentious person, but it's better for me to settle this matter by myself. Firstly, I can't be sure that all the people in my grandfather's family are bastards. I have to check them out first. Secondly, you can't always protect me. It's better for me to become stronger by myself. Di Baiming's eyes twitched. Was it really appropriate to use the word bastard to describe his grandfather's family? Di Baiming took out a jade token from his storage ring and handed it to Yun Chujio. Oh right, little Ju, this is for you. This jade token is a defensive immortal tool. It can at least withstand a fatal blow from the 5th layer of the ethereal space realm. Where did you get it? Yun Chujio took it and looked at it. Defensive spirit tools and immortal tools usually had a hard time producing a tool spirit. After refining it, it could be used directly by Qiling One. I got it after killing some people. I also transferred some defensive spirit tools to you. I don't need it. Di Baiming said and transferred many defensive spirit tools to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio knew that it was not that Di Baiming did not need it, but he was worried about her. She blinked her starry eyes and pecked at the corner of Di Baiming's mouth. If you give it to me, I will keep it. But you must be careful. Di Baiming nodded. You don't have to worry about me. I have already made some progress in my matter. You just have to focus on your cultivation. Yun Chujio knew that Di Baiming was going to leave again. She felt a little bitter in her heart, but she knew that there was no other way. In this place where the strong preyed on the weak, only the strong had the right to say no. Prince Charming, this is for you. Yun Chujio took out a wooden box from her storage ring. Di Baiming's expression changed. He opened it and saw that there were more than 10 small porcelain bottles inside. When he uncorked the bottle, it was indeed Yun Chujio's blood. Di Baiming's heart was filled with pain, anger, and even more self-blame. With a cold expression, he said to Yun Chujio, Little Jio, this is the last time. If you still secretly bleed behind my back next time, I will bleed twice as much for you to see. Yun Chujio. Pretty boy, are we competing to see who can hurt themselves more? You idiot. Di Baiming said as he put on his coat. Although the expression on his face was still very serious, his eyes were full of reluctance and concern. He gritted his teeth. Remember what I said. I'm leaving. If the Yi family makes things difficult for you again, or if you have a problem that you can't solve, you must tell me. You are reading on Amiibo Xn0VEL.com. Yun Chujio also put on her coat and nodded obediently. And Prince Charming, don't worry. Although my spiritual power is a little weak, I won't fight them head-on. I'll play dirty with them. Di Baiming's face stiffened. There was no one who could say dirty things so confidently. Yun Chujio sent Di Baiming out of the house. And Feng saw that the two of them had finally come out and heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He was so nervous that he was about to die. He was afraid that someone would come over again. Di Baiming kissed Yun Chujio on the forehead and left with Feng. And Feng pointed at Mo Fengjiao, who was lying on the ground. When he saw Yun Chujio nod her head, and Feng wanted to say something but hesitated. He thought for a while and left. Yun Chujio looked at Mo Fengjiao, who was lying on the ground, and thought of the two maids who were unconscious in the side room. She rolled her eyes and helped Mo Fengjiao into the house. Yun Chujio placed Mo Fengjiao on the chair and smelled the antidote for the sleeping powder. When Mo Fengjiao opened her eyes, she saw a female ghost with disheveled hair and red lips standing in front of her. She was so scared that she almost fainted again. Chapter 2146. Ghosts, Ghosts, Ghosts. Mo Fengjiao screamed in fear. Sister Fengjiao, are you possessed? Where is the female ghost? Besides, is there such a beautiful female ghost? Yun Chujio curled her lips and said. Mo Fengjiao had just woken up and was a little confused. Now that she looked carefully, she realized that the female ghost in front of her was Yun Chujio. Why are you letting your hair down for no reason? Sister Fangjiao, what time is it? Isn't it normal for my hair to be let down when I sleep? Then what's wrong with your lips? Why are they swollen? Yun Chujio finally understood the look in Enfeng's eyes before he left. It turned out that the battle with Di Biming was too intense and his lips were red and swollen. This guy said without changing his expression, don't mention it. I suddenly had a craving for spicy food. I ate a lot of spicy food just now, so my lips became like this. I opened the door for you just now because I was afraid that you would see me embarrass myself, so I hid behind the door. Who would have thought that Sister Fangjiao would faint? You scared me to death. Are you all right? Did you leave in a hurry, or are you hungry because you didn't eat tonight? Mo Fangjiao was also frightened and didn't recall the details. Moreover, she never dreamed that she was knocked out by someone. Therefore Mo Fangjiao was confused. Why did she faint for no reason? Sister Fangjiao, I guess you are hungry. Come, I have some snacks from the main room. Eat a few pieces. Yun Chujio took out a plate of pastries and placed it on the table. Mo Fangjiao really wasn't full that night, so she casually picked up a piece and ate it. Yun Chujio's eyes flickered a few times. As long as she ate something, the sleeping powder wouldn't be detected. Even if she wanted to check, she wouldn't be able to find anything. Mo Fangjiao ate 2 pieces of pastries and remembered the purpose of her visit. She hurriedly said, "Tomorrow, Sister Fangbing's maternal family and Zhu family's relatives will come. Have you heard?" Yun Chujio shook her head. I've been studying alchemy in the Great Elder's study today and haven't seen Sister Fangbing. Besides, what does her maternal family have to do with us? You are reading on Mwbo Xn 0vel com. Mo Fangjiao pursed her lips. Are you stupid? Why doesn't it have anything to do with us? Sister Fangbing's maternal family is a second-class family. Maybe she came here to look for a suitable junior. This is a good opportunity for her to soar to the sky tomorrow. You find an excuse to bring me along. Do you understand? Yun Chujio finally understood why Mo Fangjiao came to look for her in the middle of the night. It turned out that she wanted to turn from a sparrow into a phoenix. Tisgeye, I have to say, Mo Fangjiao's brain was still enough on this matter. She knew that she would create an opportunity for herself. Sister Fangjiao, although this matter is a little difficult, but who is with whom? No problem. Leave this matter to me. Tomorrow morning you and I will go to the main room together. Yun Chujio promised with a smile. Mo Fangjiao saw that Yun Chujio agreed so readily and was very satisfied. She did not have the time to pursue the matter of her fainting just now. Her mind was full of thoughts on how to dress for the next day. Mo Fangjiao gave a few more perfunctory words and then left in a hurry. Yun Chujio did not bother about Chun Shao and Chun Yu. In any case, the two of them would wake up tomorrow morning. This fellow was lying on the bed, suffering from insomnia that was hard to come by in 1,000 years. She thought about Di Biming, looked at her right palm and thought about the matter between the Yi family and the merman. She felt very troubled and did not feel sleepy for a long time. However, this fellow's mental adjustment ability was very strong. After a while he finally fell asleep. Chapter 2147. The Zhu family. The next morning, Yun Chujio opened her eyes. The corner of her mouth curled up. A new day had begun. Xiao Hanio, who was inside the spiritual beast bag, could not help but sigh inwardly. He had to admit that this black-hearted master was really tenacious. He would not give up or retreat no matter how big the difficulties were. Yun Chujio had not even washed up when Mo Fangjiao ran over. Her face was covered with meticulous makeup, and the clothes on her body were obviously carefully selected. Fangjiao, why are you only getting up? Hurry up. Mo Fangjiao urged impatiently. Yun Chujio waved her hand. Sister Fangjiao, we can't go too early. Otherwise, Sister Fangbing will find a reason to chase you out. You won't even have the chance to meet the Zhu family. Why don't we go a little later? We just happened to bump into each other. Sister Fangbing can't chase you out, right? Mo Fangjiao was stunned. She felt that what Yun Chujio said made sense, and the smile on her face became much more sincere. You're really a little smart. Alright, I'll listen to you. 2 hours later, Yun Chujio brought Mo Fangjiao to the Mo family's main house. Yun Chujio had been coming to the main house almost every day these days, so the guards in the main house knew her. Originally, the higher-ups could have just let Yun Chujio in, but seeing that Yun Chujio was bringing Mo Fengjiao with her, the guard could only say respectfully, "Please wait a moment, my two ladies. I'll go in and report." "Go ahead. Just say that Sister Fengjiao and I are here to pay our respects to Grandfather Shao Quan and Grandmother Tian," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Everyone in the main room's living room was discussing the matter of receiving the Zhu family's people. After hearing the report from the servants, Mo Fangbing's mother, Zhu, curled her lips. Zhu sure thought to herself, these two little girls were not paying respects to her father-in-law and mother-in-law. They clearly knew that her family's people were coming over, so they came. In her dreams, it was not their turn to arrange the marriage. Let them in. Mo Shaoquan and old Madame Tian were both well-versed in the ways of the world. They could naturally think of anything that Zhu sure could think of. Although they were unhappy, they could not shut the two juniors out. Moreover, this marriage was not something that the two little girls could snatch away just like that. Yun Chujio and Mo Fengjiao entered the living room and naturally greeted them. The people in the main house were neither cold nor warm, especially Mo Fengbing, whose eyes were filled with disdain. Yun Chujio was a thick-skinned person and did not take it seriously at all. Although Mo Fengjiao felt uncomfortable all over, when she thought of the glory of marrying into a second-class family, she could not care less about being embarrassed. Therefore, even though Mo Shaoquan had already raised his teacup, the two of them still had no intention of leaving. "You are reading on MYBOXN0VEL.com at this moment." A servant came over to report that the Zhu family had arrived. Mo Shaoquan and the Tian family were elders, so it was naturally not good for them to go out to welcome them. Thus the Zhu family brought Mo Junkin and Mo Fengbing out to welcome them. After a while, a wife who was about the same age as the Zhu family came in with two maids and a young man. When Yun Chujio saw the young man's appearance, she was shocked. But wasn't this the Diao Xiaoyan she met in Thunder City back then? Back then he even fought with her over the courtyard. What was more hateful was that when they were about to leave Thunder Disaster Valley, this Diao Xiaoyan even asked his subordinate to push her. Very good, it's not too late for little Jio to take revenge. The opportunity is here. We'll see. The moment the young man entered, his gaze turned towards Mo Fengjiao. When he saw Yun Chujio, he was also stunned. "Smelly girl, why are you here?" Chapter 2148 continued. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted by Diao Xiaoyan's words. That madam could not help but glare at Diao Xiaoyan. "Don't be rude. Hurry up and bow to your elders." Diao Xiaoyan pursed his lips. In his heart he did not think much of the Mo family. They were just a small family that had just squeezed into the third class. What kind of elders were they? However, he remembered his purpose and could only pretend to bow to Mo Shaoquan and old Madame Tian. The madam who came was the wife of the first brother of the Zhu family, Pan Shi, while Diao Xiaoyan was the second son of the Pan family, Zhu Jinghu. Mo Shaoquan and old Madame Tian gave generous gifts for their meeting. Seeing that the gifts were very generous, Diao Xiaoyan's attitude became a little better. After everyone exchanged pleasantries, Mo Fengbing's eyes flickered as she said, "Cousin Jinghu, have you seen Sister Fengqiao before?" Diao Xiaoyan, who was also Zhu Jinghu, snorted coldly. "Cousin Fengbing, I didn't expect this trash to be your cousin. Last time in Thunder City she fought with me for the courtyard, but in the end she still obediently gave the courtyard to me. Stinky girl, I thought you died in Thunder Disaster Valley. I didn't expect you to still be alive." Yun Chujio looked at him indifferently. "Young Master Zhu, we are all relatives. It's not good for you to hurt people, right?" "Relatives? Just your Mo family, Jinghu. Don't be rude." Pan Shi was afraid that Zhu Jinghu would say something inappropriate, so she quickly stopped him. Zhu Jinghu glared at Yun Chujio and didn't say anything else. Mo Shaoquan didn't feel dissatisfied with Zhu Jinghu when he saw the situation. Instead, he felt that it was all Yun Chujio's fault, and he was even more displeased with Yun Chujio. However, due to his embarrassment, he directly kicked her out, so he could only give old Madame Tian a look. Old Madame Tian smiled and said, "Fengqiao girl, why didn't you go to your eldest great-grandfather's courtyard today?" "Grandmother Tian, I like a lively crowd the most. There are guests at home today, so I wanted to join in the fun. You don't want to kick me out, do you?" Yun Chujio said with a smile. Old Madame Tian's face stiffened. "What are you talking about, little girl? Why would I chase you away? I'm just afraid that your great-grandfather will miss you. You are reading on Audiobook X0vel grandmother Tian, don't worry. The great-grandfather happened to have something to do this morning. I'll go see him in the afternoon. Little fellow, you want to chase me away? No way. Old Madame Tian gave Mo Xiaoquan a look. What she meant was that this fellow's skin was too thick and he couldn't be chased away. The Pan family was very shrewd. When she saw the situation, she could guess some clues and couldn't help but feel disdain in her heart. A third-class family was just unrated and didn't have any rules. It was better to complete the matter and leave this place as soon as possible. Uncle, Auntie, to be honest, I came here for two things. The first thing was that Jing Hu's wife passed away half a year ago, so I planned to help him look for a girl to be his second wife. If the Mo family had a suitable girl and Jing Hu happened to like her, then we would settle the marriage. The second thing was that my mother-in-law's health had not been very good. It was not easy to get a famous doctor to treat her, but she needed the 7-leaf hollow grass as a medicinal primer. Jing Hu was filial and once went to the Lightning Tribulation Valley to look for it, but unfortunately he did not find it. I also found out by chance that the great elder of your residence had once happened to obtain a 7-leaf hollow grass by chance. I wonder if he still has it? If he does, our Zhu family is willing to pay a high price to purchase it. If he doesn't have it, please tell me where he is going. Lady Pan explained her purpose for coming. Although her words were rather polite, her attitude was high and mighty. Lady Pan's words clearly carried a sense of coercion. She was determined to obtain the 7-leaf hollow grass. If the Mo family didn't hand it over, she would be putting pressure on them. Chapter 2152 Women vying for a husband. Pan sure held her own status and did not say anything else. She only gave Zhu Jinghu a warning look, telling him not to act recklessly. Zhu Jinghu smiled indifferently and gave a perfunctory bow to Mo Xiaoan and old Madame Tian. Then he brought Mo Fangbing and the other two out of the large room. Along the way, Zhu Jinghu and Mo Fangjiao chatted and laughed. Although Mo Fangbing was half-dead angry, her personality was cold and arrogant. She could not be as soft-spoken as Mo Fangjiao, so her expression became even gloomier. Zhu Jinghu did not like Mo Fangbing's ice-cold appearance to begin with. Now that he saw her ugly expression, he was even more displeased. He was here to marry a wife, not a resentful wife. It was boring. Zhu Jinghu originally wanted to take the opportunity to teach Yun Chujiao a lesson, but his thoughts were all seduced by Mo Fangjiao. He did not think of finding trouble with Yun Chujiao for a while. Yun Chujiao happily followed behind the three of them to watch the show. She felt that the days to come would be very exciting. TSK, two women fighting for a husband, and she was even a cousin. It was beautiful. The four of them strolled around and it was time for lunch. Brother Jinghu, I'm a little hungry. Mo Fangjiao directly turned her cousin into a brother. Zhu Jing's heart softened when she called him. Sister Fangjiao, since you're hungry, let's go to the restaurant across the street for lunch. Order whatever you want, it's my treat. Zhu Jinghu said as he held Mo Fangjiao's hand. Mo Fangbing couldn't take it anymore and said coldly, Cousin, let's go back to the manor for lunch. Maybe great-grandfather already has news. Mo Fangbing said this to remind Zhu Jinghu not to forget the purpose of his visit. Moreover, he could only marry her. Although Zhu Jinghu was lustful, he knew that a small arm couldn't beat a big thigh. He could only marry Mo Fangbing, this cold beauty. All right. It's really troublesome. Sister Fangjiao, let's go out for a walk tomorrow. When the time comes, I'll go to your residence to look for you, Zhu Jinghu said to Mo Fangjiao with a smile. He decided to use some tricks to get Mo Fangjiao. When the time came, he would let her be a concubine. After all, the rice had already been cooked. She had to marry whether she wanted to or not. Mo Fangjiao's face blushed. Brother Jinghu, I'll wait for you at the residence tomorrow. Don't disappoint me. Zhu Jinghu looked at Mo Fangjiao's bashful appearance and wished he could get her on the bed right away. However, Mo Fangbing glared at him from the side and could only reluctantly follow Mo Fangbing away. You are reading on Audiobook X0vel. Mo Fangjiao stared at Zhu Jing's back until she could no longer see him. Only then did she withdraw her gaze. Yun Chujiao watched from the side coldly. She was conflicted about whether she should get involved in this mess. She could conclude that no matter how much Mo Fangjiao tossed and turned, the best result would be to marry Zhu Jinghu as a concubine. Moreover, no matter how she compared it, Mo Fangjiao would not be able to defeat Mo Fangbing after marriage. Zhu Jinghu was just trying to be fresh. Although her relationship with Mo Fangjiao was not very good, and there was even a bit of unhappiness, watching a little girl being raped by a scumbag, Yun Chujia's remaining sympathy was still overflowing. Alright, these were all the lines that this guy used to clear his name. In fact, this guy wanted to take revenge on Zhu Jinghu, that Diao Xiaoyan. Damn it, did he want to kill me back then? Now I'll let you go for nothing. Not only can you not get the beauty, but you can also forget about getting the 7-leaf hollow grass. However, now that Mo Fangjiao's maiden heart was burning, Yun Chujiu knew that now was not the time. So after returning to the 5th room, Yun Chujiu did not say anything and went back to the New Moon Pavilion. It's not that I'm cursing him, but with his smug look he might be beaten to death one day. At that time you'll have to be a widow. You are reading on MYBOXN0VEL.com. Sister Fangbing, think about it. You just married and you became a widow. Then you really became a widow. Are you willing to die just like that? Yun Chujiu kept talking about being a widow as if she was brainwashing her. Mo Fangbing's face turned pale and her hands trembled slightly. You're talking nonsense. Cousin Jing who would not treat me like that. Moreover, the Zhu family is a second-class family. They would not let anything happen to cousin Jinghu. Besides, what can I do with the words of the matchmaker and the orders of my parents? Mo Fangbing defended herself. Yun Chujiu was secretly happy. It seemed that Mo Fangbing had always been against this marriage, which made it even easier to handle. Sister Fangbing, of course I have to listen to the orders of my parents. However, you know that there's a fire pit in front of you, yet you still jump into it. Then you're a fool. If you're not happy, can your parents be at ease? Sister Fangbing, you're a smart person. You must know that what I said is true. Other than his family background, that Zhu Jinghu has no redeeming qualities at all. Marrying a good girl like you is like a good cabbage being eaten by a pig. Are you really willing to be eaten by a pig? Chapter 2152. Persuading Mo Fangbing. After listening to Yun Chujiu's words, Mo Fangbing did not speak for a long time. She was much smarter than Mo Fangjiao. Although she did not know what Yun Chujiu's motive was, she admitted that Yun Chujiu's words made sense. Zhu Jinghu was not a good match at all. After a long silence, Mo Fangbing stared at Yun Chujiu. What is your motive? To put it simply, Zhu Jinghu almost killed me last time. Naturally, I don't want to see him carry a beauty back. To put it simply, although we sisters aren't happy, we are still related by blood. How can I bear to see you jump into a fire pit? Yun Chujiu said with an expression that said, I'm doing you a favor. Humph, you say it nicely. I think the first one is your motive. Mo Fangbing snorted. Sister Fangbing, don't bother about my goal. I just want to ask you one thing. Do you want to marry Zhu Jinghu, that pervert who always causes trouble? Mo Fangbing's face stiffened. She thought to herself, you've already portrayed Zhu Jinghu as a pervert. Do you think I want to marry him? Yun Chujiu saw that Mo Fangbing did not say anything and continued. Sister Fangbing, I know that you have big ambitions. Marrying a bastard like this is definitely not what you want. I will give you a clear path. I will think of a way to get 2 chances to go to a higher education institution or a large sect to take the test. When the time comes, you will go with me. With your talent, it is simply too easy for you to stand out. Moreover, there are many outstanding men in higher education institutions or large sections. Aren't you free to choose any of them? Isn't it much better than finding a second-rate person like Zhu Jinghu? How about it? If you are willing, you can cooperate with me and we can ruin this marriage. After listening to Yun Chujiu's words, Mo Fangbing was stunned on the spot. Her eyes were actually slowly turning red. She did not expect Yun Chujiu to understand her thoughts so well. She had never been willing to marry and have children at an age like her mother, leading a mediocre life. She wanted to make a name for herself, which was why she hated Yun Chujiu for being favored by the great elder. She had also tried her best to perform, hoping to gain the favor of Mo Shaoquan and the great elder. However, the Mo residents had always prioritized boys over girls. Even though her brother was not as talented as her, however, the resources of the family were all stuffed into her brother's hands. The family had planned for her to marry into a good family, so she had accepted her fate. At least marrying into the Zhu family could be considered as getting ahead, and she would be the best among the Mo sisters. Yun Chujio did not say anything else. She knew that Mo Fongbing had been persuaded by her, but she needed a process of self-persuasion. You are reading on MYBOXN0VEL. In a sense, Yun Chujio liked people with Mo Fangbing's personality more than people like Mo Fongjiao. A girl like Mo Fongbing had ambition in her heart and the desire to become stronger. Moreover, she was more willing to rely on her own strength to climb up. Although Mo Fongjiao also had ambition, she mostly wanted to rely on others. Fortunately, she had another advantage. She was simple-minded, so it was not easy to be a big villain. After a full quarter of an hour, Mo Fongbing stared at Yun Chujio and asked, "Can you really get the chance to participate in the test?" Yun Chujio nodded confidently, "Of course. Even if it's not for you, I will do it for myself." If Yun Chujio had said this more than 10 days ago, Mo Fongbing would not have believed it. But now she believed at least 90%. This Mo Fongbing was able to make her great-grandfather look at her differently. She had to admit that she did have some tricks up her sleeve. Chapter 2153 was a little more pleasing to the eye. What do you need me to do? Mo Fongbing decided to take a gamble. If she won the bet, she would win a new world. If she lost the bet, the worst outcome would be that she would lose the engagement. It would not be a pity if she did not marry Zhu Jinghu. Yun Chujio whispered a few words and Mo Fongbing nodded. "Okay, I can cooperate with you, but you have to swear an oath. Otherwise, I won't believe you." All right. People just lack trust. Am I a person who will lie to others? Heaven above, if I lie to Sister Fongbing, I will be struck to death by lightning. Sister Fongbing, can you do it now? Yun Chujio said with a smile. Mo Fongbing saw that Yun Chujio had already sworn an oath, so she was relieved. Moreover, she didn't know if it was an illusion, but now she found Yun Chujio more pleasing to the eye than before, and she didn't seem to be so annoying anymore. The two of them chatted for a while more about the details before Yun Chujio got up and went to the Great Elder's courtyard. "Great Elder, I'm here." Yun Chujio's voice came before she arrived. Others thought that Yun Chujio did this because of her hot temper, but in fact she had her own little Jujio. She shouted to give the people in the room a hint so that they wouldn't see or hear any secrets. When the Great Elder saw Yun Chujio jumping in, he could not help but put on a straight face. "You little girl, why didn't you come yesterday afternoon?" Yun Chujio giggled. "Great Master, I wanted to come, but I knew that you would definitely discuss the Zhu family with Grandfather Shao Quan, so I tactfully did not come." The Great Elder's eyes flashed. "Then what do you think the result of our discussion is?" Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "Great Elder, I said it's fine, but don't blame me if I say something offensive. You clever little girl, just say it. I won't blame you." The Great Elder scolded with a smile. "Great Elder, I think that Grandfather Shao Quan's opinion is definitely to ask you to hand over the 7-leaf hollow grass and marry Sister Fongbing. As for you, I think you haven't decided whether to do this or not, so you're using the delaying tactic now, so you definitely haven't given the Pan family an answer yet. Am I right or wrong?" Yun Chujio finished speaking. She tilted her head and asked the Great Elder. The Great Elder didn't make a comment. Instead he asked, "Then tell me, why would I hesitate?" "Great-grandfather, most people would naturally think that this is a great thing. After all, although the 7-leafed hollow grass is precious, it's nothing compared to the marriage of the Zhu family. But who are you? You are the wisest person in charge of the family, so it is natural for you to think long-term." You are reading on MYBOXN0VEL. These two things may seem like a good thing, but when you think about it carefully, they are both bad things. Let's talk about the marriage first. Sister Fangbing's family background is not as good as the other daughters-in-law of the Zhu family. In addition, she is a married woman and her personality is cold and arrogant. She cannot please her in-laws and husband, so naturally she will be bullied. When Sister Fongbing came back and cried, could her parents just stand by and watch? They would definitely negotiate with the Zhu family, but the Zhu family was powerful and they would not be able to get back any justice. As time passed, the relationship between the two families would naturally deteriorate, and in the end the in-laws would become enemies. To put it bluntly, that Zhu Jinghu was not a good person at all. Who knows, one day he might cause trouble and be killed by someone. At that time, Sister Fongbing would bear the reputation of being a husband's nemesis. How could the other girls of our Mo family get married? The marriage was still fine, but the most fatal thing was the matter of the 7-leaf hollow grass. No one knew which idiot told the Zhu family about this, but it was simply a disaster. The Zhu family had been searching for the 7-leaf hollow grass for a long time. When the time came, they would definitely feel that, grandfather, you had the 7-leaf hollow grass in your hands, but you did not take the initiative to offer it. You really did not know your place. Moreover, I don't know if the doctor that the Zhu family found is reliable or not. If he were to use his medicine, old lady Zhu would die instantly. She would definitely vent her anger on our Mo family. When the time comes, a calamity really fell from the sky. Chapter 2155. A genius is a genius. The great elder was stunned for a moment before he laughed out loud. He took out a jade box from his storage ring. There was a stalk of medicinal herb inside. From its appearance, it looked exactly the same as the 7-leaf hollow grass, except that one of its leaves had been torn off. Yun Chujio clapped her hands. Looks like this is the 7-leaf reed. That's great. This is flawless. Great elder, you weren't at the scene at that time. Although that Pan's words were polite, that high and mighty attitude was simply too hateful. Also, that Zhu Jinghu didn't even take our Mo family seriously. Bah! Wasn't he just reincarnated into a good reincarnation? What's so great about it? Sooner or later, our Mo family will definitely surpass their Zhu family. The great elder frowned. When Mo Shaoquan told him about it, he did not mention these things. Now that he heard Yun Chujie's truthful description, he naturally felt very uncomfortable. Although the Zhu family was a second-class family, Zhu Jinghu was, after all, a junior. He actually dared to be so presumptuous. He was really arrogant. All right, I will handle this matter. Have you learned the disaster-breaking pill that I taught you a few days ago? The disaster-breaking pill was a level 11 medicinal pill. The great elder had just taught Yun Chujio the refining method a few days ago. I went back and tried it a few times. Although I was able to successfully refine it, the success rate of the pill was very low. It was basically 30 to 40%. Therefore, I still need to practice for a period of time. Yun Chujio, this fellow, decided to hide her foolishness to the end. That was why she said that on purpose. In fact, this fellow had already known how to refine the disaster-breaking pill long ago. What? 30 to 40% success rate of the pill? The great elder suddenly raised his voice. Yun Chujio's heart sank. It was over. She had hidden herself too much. If she had known earlier, she would have said 60% to 70%. She did not know if it was still too late to fill in the blanks. You can actually have a 30% to 40% success rate in just a few days? Genius. Genius. An ordinary person would need at least half a year to learn a high-level medicinal pill. You actually learned it in less than 10 days. You're really a genius. The great elder's beard curled up. He was clearly very excited. Yun Chujio. How could she be considered a genius like this? Damn, if he had known this would happen, he would have said that he had a pill success rate of 10 to 20%. A genius was indeed a genius. Even if he was hiding his abilities, he was still so outstanding. There was really no other way. The great elder said a few more encouraging words. Then the two of them began to discuss some difficult questions regarding pill refinement. The atmosphere was very harmonious. Chapter 2156. Bubbles turn into bubbles. After the first elder handed the jade box to Mo Shaoquan, he said to Yun Chujio, Fong Chao girl, find the book that records the difference between these herbs for your grandfather. Okay. Yun Chujio answered crisply and started to rummage through the bookshelf. Actually, this guy could find it in an instant, but he still pretended to rummage through it for a while before handing a book to Mo Shaoquan. Mo Shaoquan looked at the records on it and picked up the leaf to sniff it. Indeed, there was a faint fruit fragrance. His expression immediately became dejected. Such a good opportunity had slipped away. He reckoned that Fang Bing's marriage could only be abandoned. What bad luck. First Elder gave him a few more instructions before Mo Shaoquan took the jade box containing the 7-leaf reed and left dejectedly. The Great Elder shook his head. Not only did he not have a vision, but he also did not know how to hide his worries. Fortunately, he was still alive, or else it would really be difficult for the house to keep its position as the head of the family. The Great Elder knew Mo Xiaoquan's character, so he simply lied to him to avoid giving himself away. Yun Chujiu blinked her eyes and thought of that silly girl, Mo Fangjiao. She then said to the Great Elder, "Great Elder, I reckon that Grandfather Shaoquan will come to look for you to discuss Sister Fangbing's marriage, so I won't be an eyesore here. I'll practice alchemy at home tomorrow and come back the day after tomorrow." The Great Elder nodded. There were indeed some words that were inconvenient for Yun Chujiu to hear. "All right, you can go back." Yun Chujiu bowed and then left. After Yun Chujiu returned to the 5th room of the Mo family, she found that Mo Fangjiao had not returned yet. She was probably still flirting with that Zhu Jinghu on the street. It was not until evening that Chun Xiao reported to Yun Chujiu that Mo Fangjiao had returned. Yun Chujiu curled the corners of her lips and decided to save the silly girl who had lost her way and at the same time teach that bastard Zhu Jinghu a lesson. Yun Chujiu brought Chun Xiao to Mo Fangjiu's courtyard. After the maid passed the message, Yun Chujiu entered the house. Mo Fangjiu's face was full of pride. When she saw Yun Chujiu, she was unprecedentedly enthusiastic. "Sister Fangchao, you're here? Xiaolian, hurry up and serve the pastries, tea and spirit fruits." "You are reading on Mwbo Xn 0VL.com." Yun Chujiu inexplicably thought of the pimp that Mo Fangbing had mentioned. The corners of her eyes twitched. After the maid served the pastries and the like, Yun Chujiu said, "Sister Fangjiao, I want to tell you something. Can you let them go out first?" Mo Fangjiao found Yun Chujiu pleasing to the eye. Chapter 2157. Saving a Lost Lamb. Mo Fangjiao was a little hesitant, but she still said, "Anyway, Brother Jinghu won't lie to me. He will definitely marry me. He told me very firmly that he will definitely not marry Mo Fangbing." "Sister Fangjiao, I won't say anything else. You also know that Zhu Jinghu and I once had a bad relationship. I have a lot to say. Perhaps you think that I'm framing him. In that case, I guess he will come to you tomorrow and find an opportunity to tell you that his mother doesn't agree to marry you. There's only one way to achieve his goal, and that is to make the rice ripe first. At that time his mother will have no choice but to agree. At that time what will you do?" Yun Chujiu stared at Mo Fangjiao and asked. Mo Fangjiao showed a hint of panic on her face. Of course I won't agree. How can we not get married? We can do that." "Sister Fangjiao, even though you're stubborn, I think you'll still be convinced by his flowery words. How about this? In order to let you see his true colors, let's put on a show." What show?" Yun Chujiu lowered her voice and said a few words. Mo Fangjiao's face was red with embarrassment and anger. This is too much. Besides, Brother Jinghu won't do what you said." "Sister Fangjiao, since you don't have anything to do with him, this is a good opportunity to see if he really wants to marry you. This marriage is a matter of life and death. If he really has bad intentions, wouldn't your efforts be in vain? No matter how good the Zhu family is, if you marry them as a concubine, it will be a huge fire pit." Mo Fangjiao bit her lips and hesitated for a moment. In the end, she stomped her feet and said, "All right, I'll listen to you." Although she was simple-minded, she was not stupid enough to think that being Zhu Jing's concubine was a good way out. No matter how much the concubine was pampered, she would still be a slave and would never be able to raise her head. The two of them discussed for a while before Yun Chujiu hopped away. Mo Fangjiao did not sleep well the entire night. One moment she felt that what Yun Chujiu said made sense, and the next moment she felt that Zhu Jinghu would not lie to her. She didn't really like Zhu Jinghu. What she liked was the status of the first son of the Zhu family. If she could only be a concubine, then she might as well find a proper wife. At least her child would be able to raise his head in the future. The next morning, Zhu Jinghu sent someone to deliver a letter to Mo Fangjiao and asked her to meet him at the tea house yesterday. Mo Fangjiao dressed up meticulously and sent a maid to deliver a letter to Yun Chujiu. Only then did she go to the tea house to meet Zhu Jinghu. You are reading on MYBOXN0VEL. Zhu Jinghu was waiting impatiently in the tea house when he saw Mo Fangjiao arrive. A lustful look flashed across his eyes. Yesterday, Mo Xiaoquan had already told Lady Pan about the 7-leaf hollow grass and the 7-leaf reeds. He had also shown Lady Pan the 7-leaf reeds and the pharmacopoeia. Lady Pan did not suspect anything. She felt that the Mo family would only reject such a good thing if they had a brain. She immediately offered to leave. However, old Madame Tian and Lady Zhu both urged her to stay. She agreed to stay for another 2 days because of her face. Old Madame Tian and Zhu Shi naturally had a purpose in urging her to stay. They wanted to facilitate the marriage between Zhu Jinghu and Mo Fangbing. However, Pan Shi no longer had this intention. Since the Mo family did not have the 7-leaf hollow grass, it would be better to find a girl with a better family background for their son to marry. This way it would be helpful to their eldest son in the future. When Zhu Jinghu heard that he did not need to marry Mo Fangbing, he was naturally very happy. He planned to get Mo Fangjiao into bed today and then marry her as a concubine. Sister Fangjiao, you're really dazzling today. I can't take my eyes off you, Zhu Jinghu praised. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.